Greetings, this is yours truly, Lord Karo, welcome to my domain. Izuku Yagi, the Symbol of Hope. Chapter 1, Birth of a Symbol. In a hospital in Japan, there was a green-haired woman who gave birth to a healthy baby boy. By her side was a man with strange but good-looking hair, and to her right was an older woman with a similar hairdo to hers. The woman looked to her husband. "Toshi, our baby boy is so beautiful," Inko said. "He has your eyes, and Toshinori's hair," the other woman said. "Can I hold him?" Toshinori asked, looking at the baby boy, with joy in his heart. Inko nodded at her husband and smiled. She then handed the baby boy over to Toshinori. The baby took Toshinori's hand and gently squeezed it. Toshinori smiled. "He is here," Toshinori said. "Ba ba ba," the boy said, repeating him. Toshinori then poked Izuku's nose as Izuku then bopped Toshinori in the nose as he squeezed it. The older woman chuckled. "Looks like he may inherit his father's strength in the future," she said. This woman was known as Nana Shimura, the hopeful hero, paragon. She retired in order to spend more time with her daughter Inko. "What do you think you'll call him?" Nana asked. Inko and Toshinori then looked at each other and smiled. "I was thinking, Izuku," Inko said. Nana smiled at that name. "That's a beautiful name," Nana said. She hugged the both of them and smiled. 4 years have passed since that fateful day. Izuku was now an excited 4-year-old who admired heroes. From their costumes, to their quirks, basically everything. Today was his 4th birthday. The young boy was awakened by the voice of his grandmother. "Wake up, little guy," she said. The sheets were moved, revealing Izuku in a onesie of his favorite hero, All Might, the #1 hero in Japan. "Is it morning already, Grandma?" Izuku asked. Nana nodded and smiled at her grandson. "Certainly is," Nana said as she picked him up. "Are you excited about your quirk, little guy?" "Uh-huh," Izuku said. "When I get it, I'll be a great hero like All Might." "You sure will. What do you think your quirk will be like?" Nana asked him. I don't know. Maybe super speed or super strength. Or maybe, super nerd," Izuku said. "I think that's just Katsuki calling you a super nerd," Nana told him. "Yeah, he said it would be my hero name. Super nerd," Izuku said with enthusiasm. Nana couldn't help but chuckle at her grandson's enthusiasm. "Well, let's get some breakfast, your mama is cooking something special for ya." "Yay," Izuku said. Nana brought Izuku down to the kitchen where Toshinori and Inko were sitting. "Mornin' papa and mama. Happy birthday, little guy," Toshinori said. "Well, there's my little Izuku," Inko said as she pecked him on the cheek. Izuku giggled a bit and gave his mother a hug. "Are you excited to see what your quirk is gonna be?" asked Inko. "Yeah, I'm so excited I can explode," Izuku shouted. "Before that, I made you a little something for your special day," Inko said. She turned his attention to some All Might-shaped pancakes with chocolate chips on them. "Pancakes," Izuku said. "Yep, pancakes," Inko said with a smile. The 3 adults watched as Izuku chowed down on his food, making a bit of a mess. Inko giggled at her son. Now Izuku, you should slow down," Inko said with a smile. "Sorry mama, I just really love your pancakes." "I know, sweetie. But please, slow down. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if your quirk is Saiyan," Inko noted. "Okay," Izuku said with a smile. After eating, Izuku got washed up and put on some regular clothes. Toshinori patted him on the head. "So are you ready to see what quirk you have?" Toshinori said. "Heck yay," Izuku said as he jumped in the air. However, something was wrong. He was still in the air. "Is this a freeze frame or are you actually floating?" Nana asked. I think I'm actually floating," Izuku said. Realization suddenly came to him. "Holy shiskabobs. I'm floating," Izuku shouted. After all of that, the family got in the car and drove to the hospital. There, met with their doctor, who was an old skinny man with rectangle glasses. "So you're here to discover this young man's superpower?" asked the doctor. "Yes sir," Inko said. "Well, since he's already shown signs of his quirk, I think I should just skip to how this power works. It's a basic telekinesis quirk, meaning that he can fly and attract and repulse objects. While not impressive at first, most of the best superheroes usually start off with a not-so-strong quirk but find multiple ways to use said quirk. I believe he'll be a great hero." Izuku could only sit there with an excited expression on his face. Now, Young man, if you're truly thinking of becoming a hero, don't let some idiot talk you out of it. Ya hear? Asked the doctor. Yay, Izuku replied. And always remember, a hero's job is never easy. With great power comes great responsibilities. The doctor told him. Yay, Izuku repeated. Now, get out there and be the hero you were meant to be. Yeah. At that, Izuku, Inko, Nana and Toshinori all walked out of the doctor's office, satisfied with their answer. Excelsior, said the doctor. Chapter 2, Meeting New Friends. Izuku and the family were on their way out of the quirk clinics. Izuku saw his best friend Katsuki walking by. Deku scrub, Katsuki said greeting him. Never gonna stop calling me that? Izuku asked. Well, you still call me Kachan, so I say it's fair game. Katsuki told him. Hello Katsuki, Nana said as she rubbed his cheek, you gonna make it to Izuku's party today? Of course he is, he keeps reminding me about it 24/7, Mitsuki said. What do you think I am? An idiot. Of course I'm gonna be there. I love how Auntie Inko makes katsudon. Katsuki shouted. If you love it so much you should learn to make it, Ramsey Jr., Mitsuki said with a chuckle. So what's Katsuki's quirk? Inko asked. Oh Katsuki can make little fire cracks with his hands, Mitsuki said, pretty soon they'll be full on explosions. And what about Izuku's quirk? What does he have? I'm a telepath, Izuku said, not only can I attract and repel objects but I can fly. Okay that's on me, I set the bar too low, Katsuki said. What do you mean, Kachan? Izuku asked. Oh, you know. Me with an explosion quirk while you're over here able to get a better version of the black-haired old lady's quirk. Katsuki said. What do you mean? Never mind, Katsuki said. Now Katsuki don't be starting stuff ya brat. I'm not you old ha, Katsuki began but was interrupted by a bonk on the head. Don't call me an old hag. Then don't call me a brat. Katsuki shouted back sticking his tongue out. Some things never change, Nana said with a slight laugh. Nope. Inko said. Excuse us. Mitsuki said as she dragged Katsuki in the car. Inko, Izuku, Nana and Toshinori still heard Mitsuki and Katsuki bickering from outside the car as they drove off. Do you think he gets it from his mommy? Izuku asked. I don't think there's any doubt in mind. Toshinori said. He's probably gonna learn every naughty word in the book before he even starts preschool. Nana said. Well I don't see how that's not possible. He reminds me of Mitsuki when we were in high school. She would constantly get into heated arguments with other people and I always had to calm her down. Inko went into a mutter state. Oh boy, there she goes. Izuku is probably gonna inherit that from his mama. Toshinori said. Making their way home, Inko, Toshinori and Izuku were greeted to the sight of a movers and packers truck right next to their door. Inko parked her car and the two made their way to meet the people who were moving there. A young girl with permanent blush marks on her face stepped out. Ooh, it's so big. A brown-haired man, who seemed like the girl's father, laughed at her statement and responded, yes, dear. Yes it is. A woman stepped out as well and joined what was probably her husband and daughter as they were admiring their new house. Inko walked up to the family of three. Why hello, are you moving here? A woman who looked like the little girl's mother stepped forward. Why, yes we are. I'm assuming you're our neighbors. The woman asked. Yes, Inko said, my name is Inko Yagi. This is my husband Toshinori, and my son Izuku. Nice to meet you all. I'm Sato Uraraka, this is my husband, Maruki and this is our little girl, Ochako. The woman named Sato said. The little girl known as Ochako approached the boy and greeted him with a smile. Hi, she said. Hello, Izuku said. Mr. Uraraka stepped forward. I'm warning you now boy, he said, any funny business, any at all, and you will be answering to me. Izuku gulped at the thought. Mr. Uraraka's serious face suddenly turned to a goofy face. Just kidding, he said as he laughed, I can tell you two are going to be good friends. Izuku sighed in relief. Sato had a glare and bonked her husband on the head. How many times do I have to tell you to quit doing that? She said. Oh www. I was only joking, he said. And you scared him half to death. Sato said. Sorry about my daddy. He's kind of a goofball. She told Izuku. I'm Ochako Uraraka. I'm Izuku Yagi but you knew that. Yeah, I did. It's nice to meet you. Let's be friends. Ochako told him. That sounds wonderful, Inko said. By the way, I'm having a birthday party soon. Wanna come to it? Izuku asked her. That sounds delightful, Sato said. Later, the party was about to start. Izuku was helping out with the decorations for said party. He floated up and put the sign up. How's this, Grandma? Perfect, Nana said. You know, if hero work doesn't work out, you can always do house cleaning. Mom, Inko said. What? I'm just kidding. Geez, Nana said. The Bakugos had arrived. Katsuki had a can of root beer and crossed out, root. Alright, let's turn this shit up, Katsuki shouted. Language, you little shit, Katsuki said. Please, you too, Masaru said. Oh, Katsuki, you can't get drunk on root beer. That was a joke, Inko said. Well, if I'm not drunk, then why do I keep falling? Katsuki asked, still acting drunk. I was kind of thinking because my quirk is a telekinesis quirk, I thought why not have a Harry Potter and All Might themed party. It turns out, All Might is a Hufflepuff, Izuku said. How is he a Hufflepuff? Katsuki asked. That's what I'm trying to figure out, Toshinori said. Damn that quiz, he mumbled. Well, I guess that makes me Gryffindor, Katsuki said. You're Slytherin and you know it, Mitsuki told him. I'm not. Or two, Mitsuki replied. D2. Toshinori finished with a chuckle. No more dad jokes or you're on the couch, mister, Inko warned. Sorry, Toshinori said. This is why you were put in Hufflepuff, Nana whispered. The door opened again, revealing Ochako and her parents. Is this where the party is? Asked Maruki. Sure is, Izuku said. Yay. Wait, All Might is a Hufflepuff? Ochako asked. Apparently, Toshinori said. Nana laughed at this. Yep, he's such a loyal pro-hero. Isn't he, Toshinori? She asked. Speaking of heroes, I got a surprise for you, Toshinori said, turning to Izuku. A few heroes are making their way to the party as we speak. Izuku's eyes went wide with excitement. Really? Who? Izuku asked. The door opened, revealing a few people. A woman with purple hair, an elderly-looking woman, a guy with a weird hairdo, and a hobo. Izuku, I trust you know these heroes? Toshinori asked. Of course I do, Izuku said, pointing at the woman, Nimuri Kayama aka Midnight, Chiyoshuzenji. Recovery Girl, Hizashi Yamada, Present Mike, and Shota Aizawa, Eraserman. Eraserhead actually, Aizawa said. Nimuri bent down and smiled at the little boy. Can you tell me how old you are, Izuku? She asked. 1, 2, I'm 4, he said. Nimuri then hugged the little boy, prepping him with kisses, earning a few giggles. Must you do this with every child? Aizawa asked. You know I get this way with kids, Nimuri said, turning back to Izuku and prepping him with kisses. You can call me Auntie Nimuri. So, I guess that makes me Uncle Mike and this is Uncle Aizao, Hizashi said as Aizawa slugged him in the shoulder. So what's this kid's quirk? It's obviously something related to the brain, Aizawa said, changing the subject. Actually, I have a telekinesis quirk, said Izuku. Sweetie, why don't you show them? Inko suggested. Oh, okay, Izuku said as he started floating as well as making other objects float towards him. The four adults were beyond shocked to see this. Holy shit, Aizawa said. Recovery Girl hit him with her cane. Language, you oaf, she said. Izuku turned to Nana and asked, Grandma, what does shit mean? Well, it means, Nana started. Mom, Inko shouted. After a bit of partying, Toshinori snuck away from the fun. Izuku noticed it. Mama, where did Papa go? He's getting your last surprise, Inko said. They heard familiar triumphant laughter outside. With that, a giant man with blonde bunny hair barged through the door. I am here to wish the birthday boy a happy birthday. All Might, the three kids said. Haha, yes, it is I. All Might said, you must be Izuku. Izuku nodded his head. Inko, how did you make this possible? Mitsuki asaked. Let's just say, I may know All Might personally. Inko answered. You're the greatest hero, and I wanna be just like you one day. Izuku said, I can attract and repel objects and I can fly. I'm sure you'll be a great hero with that power one day. All Might said with a smile on his face, that's quite a powerful quirk, young Izuku. I didn't know what he was about to say, but I'm gonna get screwed up with this butter beer. Katsuki said, actually drunk. Kachan. I think you have a drinking problem. Izuku told him. I don't have a problem. I drink root beer or butter beer, I get drunk, no problem. Katsuki said. All Might, you might as well tell them, Inko said, what you see stays secret, kids. Got it, Ochako said. All Might realized what she meant. He then poofed back to his normal form. The smoke cleared, revealing Toshinori. At this, Izuku looked rather shocked to see this. One minute he saw All Might, the other he saw his father. I think I've been drinking too much. Katsuki said. Papa, where did All Might go? Izuku asked. You see, All Might is your papa, Inko said. Well, time for my hangover. Katsuki said as he fell over, pretending to pass out. Your friend is weird, Izuku. Ochako said. Yeah, I know. Izuku replied. But, All Might, is actually my father. That's a plot twist, isn't it? Nana said, and also, I was the one who trained him when he was starting out as a hero. This amazing news was a lot for Izuku. He fell back on the couch comically. Is he gonna be okay? Ochako asked. Yeah, just give him an hour or so. Inko said. Just because he's the #1 hero's son doesn't mean he'll get lucky and subdue. Sato his him with a book. Ochak, sweetie, you stay with Izuku while I teach your dad not to tease kids. Okay. Ochako, sweetheart. Save me, Maruki said. Bye, Papa. All Might looked at Izuku as he slept on the couch, Ochako by his side patting his head. One day you'll make a great successor, he thought with a smile on his face. Chapter 3, Game On. Izuku, Katsuki and Ochako were walking to preschool. Izuku was walking by Ochako as she was shy. So, is Ochako your girlfriend now? Katsuki asked. Well, she's a girl who's my friend. So, yeah, Izuku said. Katsuki only snickered. After a while the students all walked in, followed by the teacher. Okay students, we have a new student joining us. Come on in. A girl wearing a hat walked in. She had blondish hair, and brown eyes. Sup fam, she said. Fam, a student asked. I'm totes excited to be here. I hope we can all be fam here, said the new girl. What's your quirk, dear? The teacher asked. She blew a mist. When she did, she was able to make 2 of herself. Is anyone else thinking her quirk is 420? No, just me. Okay, said a student. The day went on, and the new girl was trying to find a spot to sit at lunch. Katsuki noticed her. Hey yo, he said, wanna sit with us? Sure, the new girl answered. She took her spot near Katsuki, who was on the opposite side of Ochako and Izuku. So what's your name? Ochako asked. The name's Kenhi, Kenhi said. I'm Ochako Uraraka, this is my friend Izuku, and my other friend Katsuki. Sup, Katsuki said. So your quirk has to do with illusions? Izuku asked. Yeah, you could say that fam, Kenhi said with a smile. Wow, that's so cool. Izuku said, you could use that quirk to confuse villains while they remonologuing and make them think they're seeing something when in reality. He went into a muttering state. Does this usually happen? Kenhi asked. Yes, Katsuki said, but as of today you're part of the new group of friends. Kenhi smiled. 5 years later, Izuku, Katsuki, Kenhi, and Ochako became the best of friends growing up. They would usually spend their time talking about heroes, quirks, and about hero schools. They were at the playground. Katsuki was showing off his quirk while Izuku was reading a book about heroes. Their time was interrupted by a scream. Izuku looked to see the bullies picking on a kid. Come on, you really think you can be a hero with that kind of quirk, freak? Please. Just leave me alone, said the bullied victim. Or what, you defenseless loser? You really think you can tell me, the great Nito Monoma, what to do? Hey, shouted Izuku. Don't worry, Deku, I get this, Katsuki said. Hey, Malfoy. It's Monoma, shouted Monoma. Yeah, whatever. Ever read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? Your mom's on page 1, Katsuki said. Oh, it's gonna be like that, huh? Monoma shouted as he approached Katsuki. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Katsuki said. But Monoma kept approaching. Okay, you asked for it, Katsuki said as he threw an explosion at Monoma's nuts. At that, Monoma fell on the ground, gripping his nuts as he squealed in pain with tears rolling down his face. The trio then smelt something. Oh, he shit himself, Katsuki said. Ochako and Kenhi went to help the boy who was bullied. Hey, you okay? Izuku asked. Why yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, said the boy. He didn't hurt you too badly, did he? Izuku asked him. The little boy shook his head. Why was he bullying you in the first place? That's so not cool, fam. Kenhi said. For trying to talk to her, the boy said, pointing to a little girl who was by the swings. They all looked to see a girl with long black hair which was in a ponytail. He was picking on you, because you were talking to her. Katsuki asked. He nodded. Screw it, I'm getting a root beer. Katsuki said. Don't mind my friend's drinking problem. Izuku said. I don't have a problem Deku, Katsuki said. Kachan, you had 3 root beers before you came to school. You have a problem, Izuku told him. So what's your name fam? Kenhi asked. I'm Kenshi Jotaro. The named Kenshi said. I have the feeling that was a JoJo reference. Ochako said. I think I'll start calling you Jojo from now on, Izuku said. Hey, I like that, Kenshi said. So, what's your quirk? Izuku asked him. Kenshi was about to tell them, but he was hesitant. Come on, tell us, Kenhi said, shaking Kenshi. Kenhi, you're scaring him, Ochako said. My quirk lets me use video game items. That is awesome, fam, Kenhi shouted. Wait, really? Kenshi asked. Yeah, you could use any type of video game items you want. Maybe even learn spells from any type of role-playing game, Izuku said. You would probably put All Might to shame if he learned the spell from Morrowind. Ochako said. Okay, let's not get crazy, Izuku said. Gosh, I never got this much praise about my quirk, Kenshi admitted. As a matter of fact, imagine him being able to shout like in Skyrim. But then again, he said using video game items. Maybe if, Izuku then went into a muttering storm. There he goes again, everyone else said. Well, my dad thinks my quirk is a curse. Your dad thinks your quirk is a curse? Ochako asked, shocked. Your quirk isn't a curse. God was probably playing a bunch of video games when he made you and that's how you got your quirk. Kenhi said. But my dad didn't want me to be a hero. He wants me to study business. Then get that Waba Jack out and use it on him. He'll probably turn into a chicken or maybe an sweet roll. Katsuki said with a root beer in his hand, pretending to be drunk. Kenshi laughed at that statement. Luckily I live with my mom. She's divorced, whatever that means. Well, that's good. Anyway, why don't you go and talk with that girl over there while Malfoy is still screaming like a little bitch? Katsuki said. Kenshi slowly and shyly walked up to the girl who was casually swinging on the swing set. Hello, he said. The girl stopped and noticed him. Hi there. How are you doing? Kenshi asked, still stuttering. Are you okay? The girl asked. Oh no. I'm fine, it's just, Kenshi said, trying to start a conversation. Could it be that you're nervous? The girl asked. Why yeah, Kenshi said. I've heard that when someone is nervous about meeting new friends, it's likely that they never had friends before or they have something troubling them back at home. Could this be the case? The girl asked. How did you? I've read quite a bit of books. I'm kinda a bookworm, said the girl. I'm Momo, by the way. Momo Yaoyorozu. I'm Kenshi. Well, wanna be friends? Friends. Momo nodded her head. Like, we play games, we do whatever friends do and so on. She said. Well, I do like video games, Kenshi admitted. Oh, cool. I like to play video games whenever I'm not reading. Momo told him, what's your quirk? Well, I can make video game items and use them, Kenshi said. Yours? Oh, you can make video game items. That's almost like mine. Only, not video game items but real-life items. It's almost like you're my soulmate. Momo told him. Kenshi turned red after hearing that. Katsuki spat out his root beer and fell to the floor laughing. Kachan. What's a soulmate? Izuku asked. Oh, for God's sake Deku, how are you so dense? Kenshi and Momo were continuing to chat it up. Ms. Yaoyorozu, there you are, said someone. It was a butler who worked for Yaoyorozu Enterprises. Your piano lesson is about to start soon, we should hurry. Okay, just give me a moment, Momo said. She wrote something down on a piece of paper. It was a username to a game called Sword Art Online. So we can chat more, she said with a smile. Farewell for now. Until then Yaoyorozu, Kenshi said. Oh, and please call me Momo, she said. After our talk I trust you enough to call you my friend. Kenshi stood there appalled what just happened. Not only did he manage to make a few friends, but he even found out that the girl he tried to talk to also plays the same game that he does. Huh, he seems to be much happier than before. Ochako said. I'm gonna need to teach him how to verbally assault people. Katsuki said, bullies mainly. All Might looked at his son talking with his friends. He then smiled to himself. It's time, he said. Chapter 4, Training with the Pros. 2 years passed since meeting Kenshi. The 5 of them became great friends with each other. One day, Izuku was walking home from school with Ochako. After reaching her apartment room, he bid farewell to Ochako before opening the door to his own apartment. As the door opened, Toshinori was standing there with a very serious look. We need to have a talk, he said. Okay, Izuku said. He followed Toshinori to another room and he closed the door. Did I do something wrong? Izuku asked. No, not at all. I just need to talk with you for a moment. Toshinori told him, it's about my quirk. Your quirk? Izuku asked. Well, you know that I have super strength, and can change my appearance on command, yes. Toshinori asked, well, that's only a quarter of my abilities. The true name of my quirk is One for All. One, for, all. Izuku repeated. It is a quirk that not only bestows enhanced endurance, strength, and speed, but there is a second function to it as well, Toshinori explained. It can be passed down from person to person. Wait, passed down? Izuku asked. Yes, like a sacred sword, it has been passed down from hero to hero. Izuku was amazed by this fact. I would write this down, but I'm guessing you want this to be kept a secret, Izuku said. You catch on quick, Toshinori said. One for All is a quirk that originated during the dawn of quirks and has been passed down to combat the villain and the quirk All for One. One for All was created when All for One bestowed his apparently quirkless brother with a quirk that stockpiling quirk. What his brother knew was that his brother did in fact have a quirk. It was a practically useless quirk that allowed the user to transfer his quirk to others. The two quirks combined and the younger brother became the first user of One for All. Using the very power he received from All for One, the younger brother staged an uprising against All for One's empire. He was successful in pushing his brother to the underworld, forcing him into hiding. However, this win came at a great cost. The younger brother died shortly after he defeated All for One. He did pass his quirk on to his wife, who fought All for One when he came back to try and take over the world once again. This cycle of the various users of One for All defeating All for One has been going on for almost 200 years now. I am the 8th user of One for All. Your grandmother, Nana Shimura, was the 7th user of the quirk. And I pick you to be the next wielder. Me? Yes, Izuku. You. I've seen how you reacted before young Bakugo stopped you. So, I thought you would be the best candidate for One for All. So, what do you say? Toshinori asked. I accept, Izuku said. When you get this quirk, not only will your own quirk be enhanced, but you will be granted a longer lifespan. Your grandmother was the only one beside me to have this. No wonder she looks so young. Because fuck canon. Yeah, anyway, you'll need some training before I give you this quirk. If you don't have a good enough vessel, well, let's just say, it's a bit too graphic to tell you at your age. Toshinori said. You mean my limbs will go flying off? Izuku asked. Yes, Toshinori said, and Ochako, you can come in. I know you're listening. How did you know I was here? Ochako asked as she came from behind the door. I heard you gasp when Izuku asked about his limbs flying off. Toshinori said, but anyway. I need to tell the both of you to please keep this a secret. The more people that know, the more people are in danger because they know. Scout's honor. Ochako said. Okay. Now, before I give you One for All, we should get you into training. Young Uraraka, would you like to join us? He asked. Wasn't Aizawa gonna train us to get a better handle of our quirks? Ochako asked. Yeah, hey, what if Jojo came and joined us? Izuku asked. Jojo, you met a stand user? All Might asked. Izuku and Ochako started laughing at this. Actually, his real name is Kenshi Jotaro. We just decided to call him that. Izuku noted. Does he have a stand quirk? Toshinori asked. No, more like a video game item quirk. Ochako noted. Well, I don't see why not, Toshinori said, the more the merrier. Cool, Izuku said. The next day, Izuku was at a place called Dagoba Beach, next to Ochako, Katsuki and Kenshi. All Might was in front of them with his trademark smile. Alright. So, first thing for training is to gather fighting skills. And since I'm god-awful at martial arts and only rely on punching the crap out of villains, I thought, what better teacher than Erase your head, All Might said. You mean the hobo? Izuku asked. All Might snorted. Yes, I mean the hobo. All Might said while trying not to laugh. So how is he gonna train us? Ochako asked. Well, you all don't know this, but he rarely uses his quirk, relying on hand-to-hand combat, only using his quirk as last resort, All Might said. Now excuse me while I go get him. All Might then went up to the door to Aizawa's house. Wake up, Aizawa, he shouted as he banged on Aizawa's door like a mad cartoon character. Ahem, said a voice from behind. It was Aizawa. Oh, Aizawa, I was expecting you to be asleep. All Might told him. So you shout at the top of your lungs while beating the... He looked at the young children before saying his next word. Crap out of my door. 10:11 a.m. Well, yeah, how else would I wake you up? All Might asked. Good grief. So, are these the children that I'm gonna be training? Aizawa asked looking at the kids. Yep, as you remember from 2 chapters ago, the green-haired one is my son. All Might said with his signature pose. So, I should most likely expect him to act like you as if you were younger. Aizawa asked. Yes sir, All Might said. Good grief. Aizawa said, pinching his nose. Alright, I'll train them. So, what are you planning to teach us? Izuku asked. Well, first, I'm gonna train you to fight without your quirk before you start training with your quirk. Aizawa said. Sure Mr. Aizawa, Kenshi timidly said. Alright, you seem more timid than the rest of these kids. Something wrong? Aizawa asked the timid boy. Well, I guess I should tell you, Kenshi said. Okay. I'm on the spectrum. Everyone stared at him. Is the spectrum a workout program? Katsuki asked, only to get smacked upside the head by Ochako. It's not a workout program. It's a diagnosis, Kenshi said. I was kidding, it was a joke. That's the thing, I didn't get the joke. I don't get humor, or sarcasm at all. I think what he's trying to say is that he's autistic. Aizawa said. What the hell does autistic mean? Katsuki asked. It means my brain doesn't function like other people, Kenshi said. So that's why most jokes fly over your head. Katsuki said. Kachan. Be nice. Izuku told Katsuki. I'm just saying. Katsuki defended himself. Anyway, I'll personally help you build your confidence up as you train. By the way, I forgot to ask. What are you guys' quirks? Aizawa asked. Will you seen Deku's quirk already, but I can make explosions. I can make objects weightless. Well, what about Jotaro? Aizawa asked. I can make video game items, Kenshi said. He pulled out an arm cannon from the Metroid franchise. Everyone was shocked to see this. Jesus Christ, that's an overpowered quirk. Aizawa said. I should introduce you to some of the older video games. Also, we're definitely gonna need to get you some earmuffs. What are these for? Kenshi asked. Just in case you're either sparring with Bakugo or if you're ever near Present Mic. Aizawa noted. Is Present Mic loud? Kenshi asked. Very. Well, thanks for the earmuffs. I hate loud noises, Kenshi said. As the days went on, Izuku and the others were learning basic fighting techniques from Aizawa. He was showing them poses and forms for various fighting styles. When training with All Might, the 3 of them would work on clearing garbage out of the area. This was helping them build muscles. Especially for Izuku so he could wield one for all. Of course some of the UA staff were there to assist them. Cementos created an obstacle course for the 4 of them to run through. Kenshi ran through it as if it were a platform level from a video game. Cementos was amazed by this. I like this one, he said. 6 months later, All Might was walking by, and noticed the entire beach was clean, free of any garbage around the entire area. To say All Might was impressed would be an understatement. Holy, stinking, super crap, All Might said as he buffed up. He noticed Izuku jump down and catch himself using his quirk. Ochako jumped down with him. My boy, you and the others have exceeded my expectations, and finished quicker than I would have imagined. He said with a smile. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it, and I got more muscle. You certainly do, and now it is time for you to receive the quirk. All Might said as he smiled. He pulled out a piece of hair from his hairdo and gave it to Izuku. Eat this, he said. Izuku had a look of confusion. Wait, what? Izuku asked. To inherit my power you have to swallow some of my DNA, All Might said, that's how it works. Well, okay, Izuku said as he ate the hair. He downed it with an energy drink from a bottle. Dad, why do you use so much shampoo? He asked. All Might laughed at that comment. In an unknown location, there were 6 people in chairs. One of them stood up. So, the quirk has finally been passed on, he said. Throughout the years, this quirk has grown stronger than imagined. It has, said another person, in a green shadow, and now the 9th user has the quirk, come a few more hours. Nana appeared before all of them. So you've heard the news that my grandson is the new wielder, she said. We have, the first person said. I think it's time we pay the boy a visit. And I know just the way to do it. He turned to some odd-looking vessels. I never thought we would get to use these, the first person said, but better late than never. Nana smiled. Chapter 5, A New Way to Train. One day after receiving One for All, he tried using it to break a boulder. He punched the boulder, obliterating it, but at the same time, destroying his arm. Fortunately, a woman with a healing quirk was there to heal it. However, after the healing, Izuku felt tired and fell asleep. Toshinori carried Izuku into the apartment and laid him on the couch. Recovery Girl's quirk definitely made him tired. Inko ran over to him worried. What happened to my baby? She screamed. He tried using One for All and injured his arm, but Recovery Girl healed him up, Toshinori said. Inko bonked him on the head. What did I say about overexhausting our son? Inko asked. Ah, come on Inko, he's done with his pre-One for All training. Now all he has to worry about is cuts and broken bones. Inko attracted a frying pan and looked at Toshinori. Ah, Nana, a little help. Toshinori asked. Sorry, can't hear you, Nana said from the other room. Toshinori started running from his wife while she started chasing him, swinging the frying pan around. Get back here. Izuku woke up to see his mom chasing his dad around the house. Guys. Toshinori hid behind the couch. Help me son, he said. You think I wanna be on that end? Izuku said, moving away. Good boy, Inko said. She then whacked Toshinori on the head with the frying pan, and it hurt. Don't overexhaust my baby boy, Inko said with a puff. It was me that did it mom, Izuku said. Oh I know, I just told him not to let you do it, Inko said as she chuckled. Not even the strongest heroes can face the wrath of their wives. That's true, Izuku said. The next day, Izuku was slowly starting to wake up after the long sleep he needed. Izuku slowly started to wake up. He turned to his left and then to his right. He opened his eyes and saw 6 people looking at him. One of them had white hair and smiled. Hi, he said. The 11-year-old boy screamed loudly. It was so loud a certain purple cat could hear it. Nana rushed in. What is it, what's? She stopped as she saw the white-haired boy, Yoriki. Wait, you know these people? Izuku asked. Yes, Nana said. Izuku, these are the previous users of the quirk One for All. Previous users? Izuku asked. Nana nodded. Though I am curious how you're all in living bodies. Probably, a guy with hair similar to Katsuki said. So why are you all here? Izuku asked. To teach you how to properly use One for All. I'm sorry but All Might's advice was horrible. Oh, you mean to teach me how to not accidentally break my bones every time I punch Hayate across the face? Honestly, worth every bone broken. Izuku told them. So that first time you used it, I think you used the full power and that's why you broke your bones, Yorichi said. Izuku nodded. It hurt like hell. What about you grandma? Same, Nana said. Well, first thing you should do is regulate that power, a man with a scar said. What output do you think you can handle without injuring yourself? I'm not actually sure, Izuku said. Come with me, the man said. Izuku followed him outside. He was standing near a tree. Now, I want you to use 5% of One for All and punch this tree, to see if you can use it without injury. The 11-year-old was confused, but decided to do what he was told. He channeled OFA into his arm, then punched the tree using only 5% of his power. He didn't injure himself that time. Excellent. Yorichi said, you're learning. Izuku, what's all the noise? Toshinori asked, coming out before realizing who was by him. Are you, the previous users? He asked. We are, Yorichi said, by some kind of sheer dumb luck, we're living flesh. Katsuki came running by. Hey Deku, there you are, I think Gamer Boy wants us too. Who are these people? They are my cousins, Izuku said. Anyway, Jojo wants us to meet at his house. He thinks he's got a way for us to train. Really? How? He said wait and see. Later on, Izuku, Katsuki, Ochako and Kami were at Kenshi's house. The door opened revealing Kenshi in a tanuki onesie. Hey guys, he said. Izuku said. Oh, right, Kenshi said before reverting to his normal form. Were those your pajamas? Izuku asked. Nope. One of my many items I had, Kenshi said, for super cool stuff. Like sleeping? Katsuki asked. They are not pajamas, Kenshi said. Moving on, I think it's time I trusted you guys enough with something I've never shown another human being before. Ever. In my life. What is it? Izuku asked. Kenshi guided the others to his room where a computer was. He started typing in information, and went to a microphone. Kenshi Jotaro, he said. A security system was active and aimed at Izuku and the others who were startled. And guests, he finished. The security system deactivated. A light started to emerge. Kenshi went inside. The others were hesitant but followed him. When they went through they looked and could have sworn they were in some kind of virtual world. It was filled to the brim with objects and areas from various video games. What in the Matrix hell? Izuku asked. The virtual gaming world, Kenshi said. It's actually a beta build of a game I hope to share with the world one day. A mix of various games and platforming ideas, and it's also where I get my ideas for gaming items for my quirk. Mushrooms. Katsuki said looking at mushroom platforms. Everyone loves mushrooms, Ochako said. Well not me, Katsuki said. Kenshi then pressed a button. A giant item block appeared and opened up, revealing some kind of obstacle course. It had traps, obstacles, and areas to practice certain things. The quarter looked at the area and reacted with awe. I said AWE. So, watch and learn. Kenshi went to the obstacle course. He did a jump over a pit, then saw a wall. He jumped up doing multiple wall jumps before landing on top of another platform. There were foe monsters about to attack Kenshi. He did a roll and evaded the attacks before doing a long jump over a deep pit. Kenshi kept running faster and then did a triple jump before reaching the flagpole at the end. How did you do that? Izuku asked. I spent a few years on this course, but I also got a bit of help using power-ups, Kenshi said. Kenshi then hit an item block revealing a mushroom. He gave it to Katsuki. Mushrooms. Are you serious? Katsuki asked. Kenshi nodded. You heard him, Kachan. Izuku said imitating All Might, eat this. Katsuki was about to eat it but stopped. Does it have to be a mushroom, because I really hate mushrooms and… Katsuki said before looking at Kenshi, okay. Katsuki was about to eat it but stopped. Is there a… Kami grabbed the mushroom, then shoved it down his mouth. There, down the hatch and all gone. Kami said. She then shoved it down his mouth making him eat it. Kami what the fuck? Everyone else started laughing. I love you and all but that was not cool. Katsuki felt himself changing a bit. His hand grew a bit in size, his body following. He was suddenly a bit taller than he was before. He looked at himself in amazement. Whoa, I'm tall, he said. And strong, Kenshi said. Katsuki tried hitting a brick and ended up destroying it. Does this also mean my D? Kachan, that's not a question to be asked here. Izuku said. Why don't you try it out first, Kachan? Kenshi said. Katsuki smirked. He then ran and then jumped in the air. He was amazed at how much height he was getting, until he started falling down into the water. He then hit a pipe and was brought back to where the others were. He then shrank back down to his normal size. Oh yeah, when you take heavy damage, the power-up wears off. Well, shit, Katsuki said. My turn, Ochako said. She hit the item block and a brown leaf started floating down. Do I actually have to eat a leaf? She asked. Nope. Just grab it with your hand, Kenshi said. Ochako did so. Suddenly she found herself in some kind of raccoon. Wait, oh thanks Wicca. Tanuki suit. Whoa, so what does this thing do UAHGHHG? Ochako found herself flying in the air. The tail was spinning fast. The power of the Tanuki suit, Kenshi said, it grants you flight abilities. And also lets you float down. This makes no freaking sense. But then again, the Super Mario games never really made sense to begin with. Ochako said. Ochako started flying around the obstacle course. She made it to the flagpole after a few attempts. Katsuki went up again. This time he got some kind of orange flower. He then grabbed it with his hand and suddenly his clothes changed into a red core. He also had red highlights in his hair. Whoa, what's this thing do? Katsuki asked. He pointed and suddenly a fireball came out. Huh, Katsuki said. Did they explode? No, but have you ever considered ranged attacks with your firecracker quirk? Kenshi said. Ranged. Game Boy, you're a genius. Katsuki said. As Ochako and Katsuki were trying the obstacle course, Izuku was muttering to himself about one for all. But what I fiend up breaking more of my bones if IG ever an output of more than 5% o revenue seemed up shattering a line beyond repair. I need to find out a better way to use one for all so I don't end up being a reliability. Kenshi couldn't help but overhear him. Deku. Deku. He asked, hey Deku. Izuku got out of his trance. Sorry about that, I was muttering. Yeah, I can see that. Wait, why did you call me Deku? Izuku asked. Well, I got it from Kachan, Kenshi said, he said, and I quote, Deku you dumbass. He said mimicking his voice. I sound nothing like that. Katsuki said. Oh, Deku is just a nickname Kachan gave me, Izuku said, well anyway it's my quirk. I have my mom's quirk, but recently I inherited my dad's super strength. Well how do you normally use it? Ochako asked, by focusing it on a single limb. I do, Izuku said. He suddenly thought of something. Jojo, can you do that obstacle course again? I think I got something planned. Kenshi did the course once more and Izuku started taking notes. He then added those notes to what he had about one for all. Suddenly something clicked within him. He had been using the quirk wrong this entire time. It's just like my telekinetic quirk and how I focus it around me to fly. I've been using one for all as if it were a super move, rather than as a basic part of me. He got up. One for all is more like a current. Rather than focus that current on one part of me, instead I should use it on all of me. He channeled one for all throughout his entire body. Veins appeared around his body and then disappeared, and he started to glow a bit. Sparks of green danced around him as he was using 5% of the quirk. Katsuki and Ochako looked at this and were amazed. This is it, my first super move, Izuku thought. Is he alright? He looks like he's about to explode. Kenshi said. I'm better than alright, I'm inspired, Izuku said, at an output of 5%, I have my ultimate move. One for all full cowling. Oh what's one for all? Kenshi and Katsuki asked in unison. Izuku quickly covered his mouth. He then looked at the readers and realized he messed up. Fuck. Chapter 6, Super Jotaro. What's one for all? Kenshi asked. Izuku realized he messed up big time. Ochako quickly came up with an answer. Ah, you how the villain who nearly killed All Might named himself All for One? Ochako asked, trying to come up with a logical answer. Kenshi and Katsuki nodded. Well, he came up with that name in spite of that villain. Ochako said. That quickly? Katsuki asked. Yep, you know Deku. A quick learner. Ochako answered. But wait, did Deku come up with that or did you just decide that? I know your quirk isn't mind reading or else you would have known that Deku likes you by now. Katsuki said, being too smart for his own good. Shit, he's onto me. Ochako thought to herself. Okay, I may as well spill the beans, Izuku said. He then went on a long explanation of how his grandmother and father had the quirk, and how he is now the wielder of said quirk. And the only drawback is my aging being slower than others by a 0.3. But a third of 0 is still 0. That is a lot to take in, Katsuki said, but I see why you're keeping it a secret. So moving on, let's see that full cowling in action, Kenshi said, changing the subject. Izuku then went through the obstacle course at fast speed. He was much more agile with the act of full cowling. A few foe monsters arrived and he obliterated them with a smash without busting his arm. He then jumped to the flagpole and grabbed it. Wow Deku, that was amazing. Izuku then started a Kirby dance, having Kenshi facepalm. Wrong game, Deku, he said. Later on the group returned back home. Izuku ran up to the kitchen where his parents were. Whoa buddy, where's the fire? Toshinori asked. I found out how to use one for all. Izuku said. Is that so? Nana asked. Izuku then activated his ultimate move. One for all flowed throughout his entire body. The other users were amazed at this. Intriguing, Yorichi said. Well, you have a way to use the quirk without breaking your bones now. Banjo said with a smirk, now all that's left is building up outputs. I think that'll be second nature as more years come by, Izuku said. More years had passed. Throughout his middle school years, Izuku has become as popular as Katsuki has, and both have gotten praise from everyone, especially the teachers. When word got out that the two of them were going to UA, they had dozens of good luck comments and so much more. Ochako went to the same middle school as them. It's me, Kenshi Jotaro. Are you tired paying too much for game repairs, or do you need hints and cheat codes on hard levels? That's why Super Jotaro is here, to save Musudafu, and Japan, and your wallet. Momo appeared on screen as a customer. Thank you Super Jotaro, she said, if only there was a cheat code to keep my bank account from drowning. Kenshi smiled and gave her a thumbs up. Forget the other repairmen where you're just a face. With a Super Jotaro you're a family. Kenshi and Momo were watching the commercial. Wow Momo, you were great. Kenshi said. No, you were great Kenshi. Momo said. I can't believe we managed to talk your parents into paying for this commercial, and without having to pay them back. Kenshi said. Well, they said they owed ya, so that's only fair. Well, what about the accent? Was it too much? Kenshi asked. I thought it was kind of funny. Momo told him. Thanks Momo. A certain someone was watching the two talk and he was not happy about it. That creep is flirting with my queen again, Monoma said. I think she flirted first, said one of Monoma's henchmen. Shut up, I know what I saw. He walked up to the two. What do you want Monoma? Kenshi asked. To take my girlfriend away from a creep like you, Monoma said. Kenshi and Momo looked around. What are you doing? Trying to find who you're talking about. Momo said. Yeah, unless your girlfriend just so happens to be invisible like Hagakure, I'm still assuming you're maidenless. Kenshi said. The others guys started to laugh until Monoma turned to them. If I told you once, I told you a million times, Momo said. No. That's right Monoma, said another familiar voice. It was Dio Hayate, the so-called superior student. Yaoyorozu is obviously going to join my harem, Hayate said, and she'll be joining me in my quest to become the superior hero. As if, Momo said, I plan to follow Kenshi in his quest to become a repair guy, and the gaming master. Hayate started laughing at that name. Good luck trying to have a hero career with this retard. He then threw a piece of wrapped up paper at Kenshi, only for it to be caught by Momo. Call him that again, and you'll regret it, Momo said. Kenshi started to snort. It kinda sounded like he called me a retard, which would be a mistake because, I will not be made to be ashamed of who I am. I may run from villains, Kenshi said getting in a stance, but I will always fight a bully. Oh come on, you're a wimp, but I'll give you the first hit, Hayate said, give it your best show. He didn't get to finish as Kenshi socked him in the jaw. Everyone, even Monoma, was surprised by this. You were saying? Kenshi asked. Hayate got himself back up. You just got lucky cause my quirk wasn't active, Hayate said, but if we go toe-to-toe, you're mincemeat. He started to walk away. So moving on, I heard you're planning to go to UA, Kenshi said. Yep, as a matter of fact, I got in on recommendations. Momo clarified. That's great, I plan to take the entrance exam, Kenshi said. I know you'll do great. Momo said, unlock any new items yet. As a matter of fact I have, Kenshi said, I got Patena's bow, great for melee and ranged attacks, I got the ice flower, the boomerang, a few guns from Halo. Kenshi then went into a mutter state about his gaming items. Oh no. Did you get that from your friend, Yagi? Momo asked. Well I guess his love for heroes rubbed off on me, Kenshi said with a chuckle. He got a phone call from an unknown number. Hello? Kenshi asked, your Wi-Fi is glitching. That's great. Great that you called me because I can fix it right away. He turned to Momo with a smile. I got my first customer. Okay, let's do it. She ran outside and Kenshi followed. The two of them saw a lot of traffic. We're gonna be late. No we aren't, Momo said. She opened the door and started running and jumping. Kenshi did the same. He was looking at how Momo was jumping. It was as if she played a lot of Mario Maker. After a few minutes they made it to the house. It was a fancy one. Looks like you hit the jackpot Kenshi. Momo said. Kenshi rang the doorbell. A girl with purple hair and weird ears walked out. I guess you're the repair guy. She asked. Kyoka. Momo asked. Oh hey there Momo. The girl now known as Kyoka said. You two know each other? Kenshi asked. We're in drama class, Kyoka said, and let me say she is a big drama queen. Not true. Oh really? Who decided to fall to her knees and scream to the heavens because she ran out of toothpaste? Jiro asked. It's a big deal. How else are you supposed to keep your teeth clean and from falling out? Momo asked. Anyway, this is my classmate, Kenshi Jotaro. Kenshi, this is Kyoka Jiro. Is that a JoJo reference? Jiro asked. Also I notice you're on first name basis. How's it like dating a girl like Yaomomo? Kenshi was trying to get the words out but didn't want to offend Momo and only ended up a stuttering mess. Jiro laughed at this. Well eventually if you date you'll score big time, Jiro said as she went behind Momo groping her boobs. She's smart kind and has such a delightful body. Jiro. Momo shouted as she smacked her hands away. Oh, right, I forgot. Only JoJo was allowed to grope you. Jiro said. Wait what? Kenshi asked confused. Oh yeah, let me tell ya something. When I last tried to grope her playfully she told me that you were the only one allowed to grope her. Jiro said. I never said that. Momo shouted with her face beet red. She's lying. Jiro said as she winked at Kenshi. Anyway let me show you where the damage is. She showed them to the room where the Wi-Fi thing was acting wonky. This is where is it, Jiro said. We'll get it fixed, Kenshi said. He took a few minutes taking a look at it. He then did a bit of tinkering with the adapter. After a while, he turned on the Wi-Fi on the Xbox and it was working normally again. And first job, complete, Kenshi said. So is this what you plan to do for a living? Jiro asked. Well one of many things, I also plan to become a pro gamer on YouTube. And also be a hero, Kenshi told her. I plan to go to UA. Well I'll be damned, me too. Jiro said, same with my boyfriend. You and the guitar player hooked up? Momo asked. No not him, Jiro said, this guy has a lightning quirk, but he tends to become an idiot when overusing it. Meanwhile, achoo, a certain blonde sneezed. Wait, was Kyoka talking about me again? Well you completed your first job, Momo said, how does it feel? Great, Kenshi said. I feel like I actually did something with my life. Momo then pulled Kenshi into a hug. Think normal thoughts, think normal thoughts, think normal thoughts. He tried his best to focus his mind from the fact that his face was getting squished by two flesh pillows. But, he is still a teenager getting squished by two flesh pillows. Kyoka saw this and laughed her ass off. You'll be doing a lot more later in life. She said. Jiro. Momo said. What? I'm just saying. Momo sighed, and took Kenshi's hand. Come on Kenshi, Momo said. Oh, and JoJo. Make sure you wine and dine her before you two foo. Jiro shut up. Momo shouted before Jiro could finish that sentence. Chapter 7, The Entrance Exam. A few more months passed. Izuku quickly got up using 1% of OFA. Today was the day of the entrance exams, and he was more than ready. After spending a few years training with One for All, he could use 50% of the power without any backlash. With full cowling, he was more than a chance for anything that got in his way. He got himself ready and then heard a knock on the door. Are you using One for All in there? Inko asked. Well I was only using 1%, Izuku said. Well I doubt anyone would notice, but please be careful, Inko said. Izuku walked out of his room and got himself some toast. Hey where's dad? Izuku asked. He's already at the school judging, Inko said. Good luck Izuku, you'll do great. Thanks mom, Izuku said. Izuku went to Ochako's apartment to pick her up. They were planning to walk to the school together. He knocked on the door and Ochako came out, Sato behind her. Good luck you kids, Sato said. Have fun with it, but be careful. We will, Izuku said. The two of them started heading to UA. Kenshi was on his way to the same school, walking on the sidewalk. As he continued walking, a car approached him. The window opened revealing Momo and her dad. Ah Kenshi, Mr. Yoayorizu said, taking a walk. Would you like a ride? Oh no I'm heading to UA to take the entrance exam, Kenshi answered. Oh that's good, we're going that way, Mr. Yaoyorozu stated with a smile. Hop in. If you insist, Kenshi said as he got in. Kenshi was taking a ride with the Yaoyorozus to UA. So created any new items? Momo asked with a smile. Actually I've started creating these things called presets, Kenshi said, check it out. He showed her a preset that said Arkham Knight. From the Batman Arkham games. Momo asked. Correct, Kenshi said, I'm also planning on using more than just Mario items during the exam. Maybe a bit of street fighting magic if you know what I mean. Mr. Yaoyorozu chuckled. I see someone is a man of culture, he said. You can't be the classics, Kenshi said. They soon made it to UA grounds. Kenshi got his stuff. Thanks for the lift sir, Kenshi said. He started heading out. Momo followed him. Kenshi wait, you forgot something, Momo said. No I'm pretty sure I got everything I need, pencils, notebooks, exam gear and. As Kenshi continued, Momo took this opportunity to approach the shorter boy and give him a small but tender kiss on the cheek. For luck, she said. She went back into the car. At this, Kenshi was walking like a love-struck idiot. Jiro noticed him walking by and smirked. Oh I am gonna tease him for this, she said while looking at the readers. The exam went on as planned. Everyone was taking the written portion, and then came the most important part. The physical portion. It was being instructed by none other than Present Mike. The physical portion was kinda like a points game. People were gonna be around the city finding robots worth a certain number of points, using their quirks and smart thinking. Kenshi noticed something. He then raised his hand. A question. Present Mike asked. Well sir, you say there's 3 robots out there, but I noticed a 4th type of robot, Kenshi stated. You are correct little listener. Present Mike said, and also to my little nephew listener out there somewhere in the crowd, good luck out there. He's talking about me, he's talking about me, he's talking about me. Izuku said as he was geeking out. Deku chill out fam, Kami said. Later on everyone was on the bus and heading into the city. Izuku saw Ochako doing a few stretches. Izuku was about to walk up to her until he felt a hand on his shoulder. Are you planning to distract her and make her lose focus? He asked. Wait, hold on, I was only going up to her to wish her luck. I just do happen to know her personally. Izuku told him. Oh my apologies, the boy said. Alright let's go. There's no countdown in Harrowwork. Present Mike said. Everyone started running around fighting robots. Kenshi pulled out the arm cannon from the Metroid games. Let's do this, he said. He went around and started firing shots at robots earning him a few points. In another area, Izuku was dashing around at fast speeds, using 40% of One for All. He was punching robots as they came closer to him. After a while he started to feel a bit sore. Maybe I should dial it down a bit, Izuku said. He channeled down to 20% of his power. That's better. Katsuki was blowing up robots using explosions. Meanwhile Ochako was making robots weightless and dropping them, making them all blow up. Everyone was showing great promise. All Might was watching them. That's my boy, Toshinori said. So the rumors are true, Nezu said, you gave your son One for All. Yes sir, Toshinori said, I would have given him the quirk even if he was quirkless. He has the true heart of a hero, and will no doubt go down in history as the next symbol of peace. Don't go playing favorites All Might, Aizawa said. Izuku grabbed a robot before it could crush him, and lifted it up destroying it. Kenshi continued blasting robots away. These things are child's play, Kenshi said, I wanna fight something bigger. He heard footsteps. From the shadows was a giant robot walking up to the examinees. It was a massive 0 PTR. Everyone was watching the behemoth of a robot walk around. Izuku scooped up Ochako, bridal style, and carried her to safety. Kenshi looked at the robot and smirked. It's time you picked on someone your own size, he said. He hit an item block and grabbed a giant mushroom. He then ate the whole thing in one bite. He started to grow into tremendous height, as big as the 0 PTR itself. Jiro saw this and she was amazed. Holy shit, she shouted. Kenshi then punched the robot hard. In a single punch, he demolished it and sent it falling down, opposite of where the examinees were. He then shrunk down to normal size. People started to clap and cheer for Kenshi, amazed by the deed he accomplished, saving all those people. Kenshi raised his hand in victory. I could have done that, Katsuki said, but he did good. Aizawa was amazed that he saw that. I don't know who this kid is, but I want him in my class, Aizawa said, him, and the green-haired boy. Done, Nezu said. 47 Chapter 8, Kenshi Jotaro Origins Part 1. In a quiet town, there lived a woman, by the name of Winry Jotaro. Her quirk allowed her to create wireframes of anything she could imagine. She lived a happy, peaceful, and basic life. She made her living working alongside her boyfriend Sai, creating plays and musical ideas. Winry, I swear, you get better with your projections every day, Sai told her with a smile. Why thank you, Winry said, and you as well, with your many characters. Well, I do get my ideas from video games, Sai told her. The two of them were deeply in love. They had each other, and their dreams. They were running a scene he was planning. There's something, I'm not sure what it is, but it's something that will grab the audience, Sai said. Oh wait. Now I remember. Winry watched Sai bend down on one knee. He pulled out a wedding ring and held it in front of her. He then said the 4 words that would change her life forever. Winry, will you marry me? He asked. Tears of happiness streamed down her face. She nodded and said, yes. The two of them shared a kiss. She took his hand and they ran to her house. Mother, you won't believe what's, she started before seeing another person speaking to their parents. Winry, show some respect to our guests. Her father said. He pointed to a well-dressed man. The man turned to Winry and smiled. So this is the delicate desert flower I have heard so much about, he said. My name is Howard Norstein. Hi. Winry asked, unsure what's going on. It is an honor to meet your acquaintance, Howard said, taking her hand and kissing it, much to her confusion and Sai's dismay. Winry, I would like you to meet your new future husband. Winry's father said. What? Winry and Sai shouted in unison. Hold your tongue, young lady, her father said. This man comes from a very rich family, and has asked us for your hand in marriage. But, I can't, Winry said. You can't, her father asked, and why not? Because I proposed to her. Sai said. Is that so? Winry's father asked. Yes, and I said yes, so I've already decided. Winry answered. Well, cancel that decision. You will wed Howard, and say goodbye to this normal life of yours. But, it's time you started living the life of a high-class woman, and stop wasting time on such commoners. Dear, I think we should, Winry's mother said, trying to defend her daughter, but was interrupted. No, her father snapped. Winry, call off the engagement, immediately. No, she said quietly. What? I said no, she shouted, raising her voice. I love Sai and I always have since the day we met. You can't just force me into a marriage to someone I don't even know. Slap. Winry fell to the floor, her hand on the cheek where she was slapped. Sai was infuriated with what he did and tried to attack him. However, Howard's eyes were glowing and he was somehow stopping him. Sai couldn't move a single muscle or anything. You shouldn't have done that, Howard said. Now you will take your things and leave. I'm not leaving here without her, Sai said. Yes you are. With a flick of the wrist, Howard sent Sai flying and he hit a wall, and was unconscious. Finish him, Winry's father said. Howard was about to finish him off. However, Winry intervened. No, stop, she shouted, I will marry you. Just don't hurt him. Howard stopped for a moment. He then smirked. You have my word. Winry, Sai said as he fell unconscious. Get him to a hospital. And make sure he forgets about my daughter. His men did as they were told. Winry tearfully walked away with Howard. There was a press conference talking about how Howard, the man of his big business, found himself a wife. He turned to Winry. When you write your goodbye letter, make sure it is something that your parents will remember them by. Goodbye letter. After this day, you are not to say a word about your old home, family, or your old life ever again, Howard said as he kissed her cheek. As of today you belong to the company, and to me. Winry was shocked by what he just said. Chapter 8, Results. Izuku carried Ochako back to her apartment after the entrance exam had ended. He then placed her gently on the bed so she could rest easily. He noticed that she was trembling a bit. She seemed like she was having a nightmare. Izuku decided to give her a soft chaste kiss on the forehead to calm her down. Good night, Ochako, he said. Izuku turned around and closed the door to her room only to see Maruki shooting him a glare. And just what were your intentions with my daughter, young man? He asked in a stone-cold voice. Izuku was nervous. I just wanted to, he said, stammering much to Maruki's amusement. He then patted the young boy's back and laughed. Ha ha ha, I'm just teasing, son. He said. So, what happened to make you have to carry Ochako home? A crazy entrance exam, Kenshi said, fortunately we made it without so much as a single scrap. That's good, Maruki said with a smile, you tend to worry a lot about her, but it shows you care. Of course, Izuku said, I'd do anything for her. In fact, if she were homeless, I'd invite her to my apartment and help her in any way I can. Maruki smiled at the boy. I'm very pleased to hear that, lad, he said, because I have some news. My wife and I got some good jobs coming up. We don't want to tear the two of you apart, so we're having her move in with you and your parents. Izuku was shocked by the news and smiling. That's all right, isn't it? He asked. Of course it is, she's practically family to me, Izuku said. Maruki smiled. I'm glad to hear. If you two end up dating, you have my blessing. He patted his head. Later on, Izuku headed home to tell his mom about what happened. As I was battling robots I heard footsteps, Izuku explained. It was a giant Zero PTR, the size of a skyscraper. People were running away from it and it was scary. You should have seen. Izuku turned to see his mother foaming from fear and shock. Mom, my heart hurts to hear you say such things. Mom, please calm down, Izuku told her. Inko collected herself after a few seconds. Izuku finished explaining what happened. Aside from that, the exam went well, Izuku said. I'm really getting the handle on Dad's quirk. That's good, sweetie, Inko said. So you said you can handle how much power? Django asked. 40%, Izuku answered. Well, OFA might be enhancing your own quirk as well, Nana said. I remember one time your mother tried using her quirk and accidentally pulled our neighbor's car into the. Mom, Inko shouted, you swore you'd never tell anyone that story. What? It's funny, Nana said. Later on during that week, Izuku was lifting weights working on his quirk. A strong quirk requires a strong body after all. Inko barged in with a letter from UA. Izuku, your letter. It's here, Inko shouted. Izuku opened the letter, showing All Might on the screen. I am here with your test results. Dad, Izuku asked. You're probably wondering why this is me on the screen. Well, surprise surprise, as I will be part of the UA staff starting this year. All Might exclaimed. Now onto the results. On the written test, you scored a perfect score. Izuku sighed in relief. As for the physical portion, you passed with flying colors, earning yourself a nice 100 points. All Might said, that alone would be enough to pass. Especially with the people you rescued. Rescue points were also a deciding factor. You scored 160 points, putting you in the second highest ranking student in the entrance exam. Wait, second, Izuku asked, then who got first? Kenshi was staring at the letter with a surprised expression. Not only did he get accepted into UA, but he also got first place out of everyone. He turned to his mother. They both started screaming loudly, and he was hugged by his stepdad. I'm so proud of you, Kenshi. Winry said, I knew you'd pass, but getting first place. My dream of being a hero will finally come to pass, Kenshi said. I never thought this day would come. Meanwhile, Ochako was hugging her parents while crying tears of happiness. For two reasons. First, for making it into UA, and second, they got good jobs and she was gonna move in with Izuku. Now she would definitely get a chance to confess to. Mind your own business, narrator. Ochako said. What? It's obvious you wanna foo. Please stand by. Meanwhile, in another location, someone was at his office, looking out into the mirror. He looked at an old picture of Yorichi, and another gentleman by them. You were such a fool, Shigaraki, he said. We could have ruled the world together. But now it is too late. Someone approached his quarters. Sir, we've found the boy, he stated. He appears to be attending UA. The man chuckled. It has begun, he said. Chapter 9, First Day. It was the first day of school. Kenshi was walking to the gates of UA. This is it, he said, my first step to heroism. Kenshi, yelled a familiar voice. He turned around to see Momo running up to him. However, he also saw something else. Her tits bouncing about as she was running. And he tried to not look at the bouncing melons, but it seemed as if God betrayed him on that when he made him stand just above her chest to begin with. Curse my height. Kenshi, you made it, Momo said, just like I knew you would. Hi Momo, Kenshi said, you look great in that uniform. I mean. Momo laughed at this. Accidentally said that out loud, Kenshi. She asked, giggling, you look great in it too though. Thanks, Kenshi said, so it looks like this is where we have class together. Most definitely. Hey guys. shouted a familiar voice. It was none other than Kyoka Jiro, in the UA school garb. Looks like we're all classmates, Jiro said with a smile. Oh great, more teasing, Kenshi thought. Jiro, accidentally, bumped into Kenshi, making him fall headfirst into Momo's soft melons. Oops, she said, sarcastically. Jiro, Momo shouted. What? It's obvious you two are dating. You don't think I saw you kiss his cheek before the entrance exam? You, how, what? Momo asked. Oh my god, now you're beginning to sound like Kenshi, Jiro told her. Jojo, called another voice. Kenshi turned to see Izuku, Ochako, Katsuki, and Kami walking by. Hey guys, Kenshi said, looks like you all made it as well. So who's the ponytail? Katsuki asked. Oh, guys, this is my best friend Momo Yaoyorozu, Kenshi said. Momo waved and bowed. It's nice to meet all of you, Momo said. Kenshi's told me a lot about you. Well, let's head in, Izuku said. Izuku opened the doors and saw a lot of new faces. Katsuki made himself comfortable on a couch and Kami sat on his lap. Ochako looked around. Wow, everyone looks so friendly. I can't wait to meet everyone, she said. If you're just here to make friends, then you can pack up your shit and get the fuck out, said a familiar voice. Everyone turned to see a man in a sleeping bag. The man got up and Izuku instantly recognized him. Aizawa looked at Izuku and took a few steps back. Izuku rushed into him, hugging him and tackling him to the ground. Uncle Zawa, Izuku said. Uncle, the entire class said. Yagi, get the hell off of me, he said. Oops, sorry, Izuku said. Anyway, terrible to meet you all, I'm Shota Aizawa, your teacher. He pulled out a gym uniform. Put these on and meet me outside. He slithered away. Later on, everyone was outside in their gym uniforms. Aizawa looked at them all. So, today we're gonna have a quirk apprehension test, Aizawa said, the reason being is because I wanna see what your quirks are made of. Jotaro, step forward. Kenshi walked up to a punching machine. You got first place in the entrance exams, right? He asked. Yes sir, Kenshi said. Punch this machine using your quirk, Aizawa said, anything goes as long as you hit it. Kenshi then took out Little Mac's punching gloves, charged up an attack and sucker punched the machine. Aizawa analyzed the punch. Intriguing, Aizawa said. So we get to use our quirks. This is gonna be fun. A pink-skinned Majin said. Izuku, Katsuki, Kenshi and Ochako all face-palmed hearing this. Fun, huh? Aizawa said, smirking under his scarf. How about this? The one who comes in last will be deemed without potential and expelled. Wait, what? A red-haired boy asked. Expelled, but we just got here. The Majin said. And stop calling me a Majin. You think hero work is all fun and games, well it's serious work, Aizawa stated. At UA we trained people to be the best heroes possible, and we're entitled to run classes whatever way we want. Show me that you belong here. The first test was the running test. Izuku was next to Katsuki, Iida and a French dude named Aoyama. His quirk allowed him to shoot lasers from his hands and feet. He could also shoot from his navel, but let's not get into that. Well, here goes, Izuku thought, one for all, full cowling 20%. Izuku dashed fast from the others. Katsuki saw this and only smirked. Beginner's luck Deku scrub, Katsuki said. Next up was the grip test. Izuku used 40% of OFA on this test and crushed the machine. Good work Yagi, but would it kill you not to break the machines? Aizawa asked. You said to give it my all and that's what I'm doing, Izuku said. Aizawa just sighed at this. Me and my big mouth. There were a lot of tests. Everyone was giving it the best they can on all of them. Ochako did the softball throw and got a score of infinity. There was a boy who could conduct electricity, another student who could harden himself. Through most of the tests, Kenshi used the super mushroom since it enhanced his strength and physicality. The final test was the punching machine. Since Kenshi already went, he was excluded from this test. After everyone went, it was Izuku's turn. Izuku went up and he was thinking of an idea. So if I start off at an output I'm comfortable with, and then increase that output, the second of the attack, it might help. He thought. Anytime tomorrow problem child, Aizawa said. Oh, yeah, sorry, Izuku said. He then powered up one for all and charged up a punch. He started off at 15%, but as soon as he punched the machine, he raised the power level to 50%, effectively destroying it. Everyone except Katsuki, Ochako, and Kenshi were looking in amazement, and reacted with awe. Aizawa was most impressed. "This kid," he said with a smirk. At that, the tests were over. They were now waiting for their scores. Kenshi somehow got first place. Izuku was in second, then Katsuki and down. The last person was Toru Hagakure. Hagakure was seen falling to her invisible knees, thinking her career as a hero was over. "And I was lying. No one's going home," Aizawa said. "Wait, what?" Hagakure asked, wiping her tears away. "That was just a rational deception to make sure you gave it your all in the tests." "So, breaking the equipment wasn't even necessary?" Izuku asked. "What do you think, problem child?" Aizawa asked. "Well, I think it was pretty pointless given that I'm in second place." Izuku shouted. "Oh, quit being a sore loser," Aizawa told him. With that, everyone went back inside to collect their class syllabus, and left for the day. Izuku, Ochako and Katsuki decided to leave together, since Izuku and Ochako lived in the same apartment now. Kenshi waked home with Momo. She noticed a notebook with quirks. "I see Yagi may have spread his analysis over to you," Momo said. "Yay, I may be a gamer, but I also have a thing for quirks too," Kenshi said. Momo noticed a costume idea for her. Momo said, "This one might work for me." Chapter 10, Hero Costumes. It was the second day of hero school. Everyone was waiting for the hero class to start. Before that, there were classes like history, writing, and literature. "Since we got time to kill, how about we all get to know each other," Izuku said. "Who wants dibs on going first?" Izuku asked the class. The Majin girl jumped up from her seat and shouted, me, let me go first." Izuku just nodded and told her, "Pick the person you want to hear after you." "Alright. The name's Mina Ishido. My quirk allows me to secret acid from my body and is the reason my skin is pink and my eyes are black. I can control the density, strength and type of acid I secrete. I love to dance and hate pervs. Also please call me Mina." Mina told the class. "The next person I pick is Eijiro Kirishima. My name is Ejiro Kirishima. My quirk allows me to harden every part of my body. It's best used for offensive attacks." Kirishima said, "My favorite hobbies include working out. My name is Tenya Iida," he said introducing himself. "My quirk allows me to run at fast speeds. However, if I keep it up for too long, the engines will stall and I would need to give them a rest. I'm here at UA to honor the family name." Everyone clapped their hands. "Thank you," Iida said as he passed the bottle to Momo. "Hello, my name is Momo Yaoyorozu," she said. "My quirk is creation. I can create almost anything from the lipids in my body as long as I remember the material and what it's called." "Can you make a bow and arrow?" Kirishima asked. "Possibly." "How about a filing cabinet?" Kaminari asked. "Why would I want to make a? I'll give you $5 right now if you make a filing cabinet," Kaminari said. "If you like to talk so much, why don't you take the next turn?" said Kyoka Jiro, the girl with an earjack quirk. "Gladly," Kaminari said. "My name is Denki Kaminari. My quirk allows me to manipulate electricity. Though I gotta be careful with how much I use, otherwise. Let's just say you don't wanna see it." He passed the bottle over to a boy named Koji Koda. "My name is Koji Koda and I can talk to animals," he wrote on a piece of paper. He passed the baton over to Kenshi. "My name is Kenshi Jotaro, and my quirk allows me to use video game items in combat." Kenshi said, "Observe." He pulled out a fire flower. He squeezed the flower in the palm of his hands, and his clothes started to change color, with streaks of red and white. There were also fire streaks in his hair. Kenshi had the power to create fireballs, much to everyone's amazement. "Whoa, that is sick." A boy named Siro said, "My name is Hanta Siro and I can create tape from my elbows. My name is Yuga Aoyama, and I can project laser beams from my arms and legs. I can also produce it from a specific area, but it gives me a tummy ache." After a few more people, it was time for Izuku. "My name is Izuku Yagi, and I surprisingly have two quirks. The first one being a telekinetic quirk from my mom's side, and the other being a super strength quirk from my dad. This guy is not someone you wanna mess with," Katsuki said. "You'll see why." As everyone was getting settled, they heard some triumphant laughter. It could only belong to one person. "I am walking through the door like a normal person," All Might said. All Might, screamed the whole class. Yes, it is I, flexing heroically in my Silver Age costume, prepared to teach you all the basics of being a hero. All Might said before spotting Izuku, hello my son. Eep. All Might quickly covered his mouth. Izuku face-palmed himself realizing his dad just spilled the beans. There was a moment of silence throughout the entire class. What? Everyone except Katsuki and Ochako screamed. Nezu then walked in with a step ladder, stood up, climbed it and then slapped All Might across the face. You had one job, he told him. Just the one. Nezu said, in any case children, this is a very big secret and you must keep it contained. Yes sir, the class said. Thank you, Nezu said. He then got down from the ladder, folded it up and walked out mumbling angrily. Moving on, what good is a hero without their hero gear? He pressed a button revealing 20 cases for each of the students. Our armor, Kirishima said. Hell yay, Kaminari said. Now get suited up and meet me at Beta City. All Might said. After a few minutes everyone started coming out in their new threads. Kenshi walked out in some kind of VR bootsuit and a helmet. He took the helmet off and smiled at all his classmates. Kenshi, your costume looks so cool. Momo said, running over to him. He got a look at Momo's costume and instantly turned red. Momo was dressed in a leotard that was a bit revealing, her arms, her legs, and also a bit of Clea. Narrator, you're not helping. Kenshi said. There were others like Toru Hagakure. Her quirk allowed her to turn invisible, so her costume was made to disappear like she did. Izuku came out as well and greeted the others. He had on a green battlesuit with spikes on his arms to cushion his arms when throwing punches. He also had a mask for breathing. Wow Deku, you look amazing. Ochako said, coming out in her hero costume. Thanks Ocha, Izuku said, I dig your costume too. She had on some kind of pink space-like costume that seemed skin-tight. Next to her was Kami who had on a simple costume. A hat and some kind of zip-up costume. You look hot Kami, Katsuki said. You too Bakabu, Kami said, you look like a human grenade. I'll take that as a compliment, Katsuki said. I could have sworn I told my students to meet me out here, but all I see are future heroes. All Might said, so today we will be having battle training. 2 groups of 2 will go head to head as heroes and villains. I see, so it's a way to get us working together and see what our quirks are capable of. Iida stated. He was wearing some kind of engine armor. Correct Iida. All Might said, the scenario is this. There is a computer inside of the building that will spread dangerous gas throughout the city. The villains will guard the said computer. Meanwhile the heroes will go in and attempt to stop this gas from being let out. The heroes win if they either capture both villains, or stop the computer, and the villains win if the timer runs out. Like Metal Gear Solid, Kenshi said. I'm not sure what that is, but you may be right, young Jotaro. All Might said, now onto the teams. All Might picked the teams that would be together. As if by fate, Izuku and Ochako were part of the same team, same with Kenshi and Momo. Other students were paired with the other classmates. Wow, we're a team, Ochako said with a smile. Wow, I gotta make a good impression, Izuku thought. Wow, looks like we'll be working together Momo. Kenshi said, I'll try my best not to hold you down. Nonsense Kenshi, our quirks will work perfectly together, Momo said with a smile. And now for the first match, I declare that these 2 teams will go together. All Might stated. Team A Izuku and Ochako were the heroes while Team D Katsuki and Iida were the villains. Izuku and Katsuki looked at each other and smirked. Should I be concerned about this? Kirishima asked. Bakugo and Deku are fated rivals, Ochako said, it's nothing more than a friendly match for them. Katsuki started walking into the building. Better give it your all Deku. Katsuki said to his pal. Chapter 11, Heroes vs Villains. The first match officially began. Izuku and Ochako entered the building. They were walking around trying to find the room with the computer in it. Izuku heard faint footsteps that were starting to get faster. Ochako, get ready, Izuku said. Ochako nodded. Surprise motherfucker. Katsuki dashed forward, throwing an explosion at the 2. Izuku dodged to the right while Ochako jumped up. She was levitating in the air, much to Izuku's surprise. Wow, I guess that training course paid off, she said with a smile. Well, you're full of surprises, Izuku said. Katsuki looked at Izuku and smirked. Let's see this power of yours up close Deku, Katsuki said, think you can take me on? I don't think, Izuku said, I know. Izuku activated One for All, channeling it throughout his entire body at 20%. Back in the surveillance room everyone else was watching. That's kinda low doing a surprise attack, Kirishima said. Well, it's also a good strategy, to catch the villains by surprise, All Might added. Katsuki smirked and had explosions ready. Don't hold back Kachan, I can take it, Izuku said. Wouldn't have it any other way. Katsuki said. Using the explosions, he dashed forward and lunged to Izuku. He then put his hand out throwing an explosion. Izuku dodged to the left. Katsuki turned around and started blasting explosion after explosion. Izuku dodged left and right, barely getting caught in any of the blasts. Alright, enough kid stuff, Katsuki said, take this. Izuku smirked and put his hands out, stopping Katsuki in place. What the, he said in shock. Izuku was using his telekinesis quirk to keep him in place. By moving his hand in a swift motion, he pushed Katsuki into a wall. Katsuki got back up. Alright, now it's my turn, Katsuki said, you and Round Face have some cool upgrades to your quirk, I'll give ya that. But I got some upgrades of my own. He channeled an explosion his right hand and threw it at Izuku. Izuku jumped up and did a few wall jumps before lunging at Katsuki, his right arm channeled with OFA. Smash! He punched Katsuki hard, sending him flying through many walls. Katsuki got himself back up. All Might was watching his son. My boy, you've grasped the power so well, he thought, you'll be a greater hero than I ever was. Meanwhile with Ochako was walking around trying to find the room with the computer. She found it, and Iida practicing some kind of villainous monologue. It was so funny and she started to laugh. He's so serious. Iida heard her. Uraraka, is that you? Shit, Ochako said. Izuku was running from Katsuki who was hurling explosions at him. Deku, I found the computer. Ochako said through his communicator, but Iida has me cornered. I'm on my way. Izuku said, I got a plan, but I'll need you to trust me. I always trust you, Ochako said. Izuku then stopped at a dead end. Looks like I got you cornered, Deku, Katsuki said. You see these gauntlets I got, they aren't just for show. They store the sweat from my palms, allowing me to throw bigger explosions. He pulled the trigger, and an explosion was released. Izuku just stood there. He then put his two hands out stopping the explosion and throwing it upwards, destroying a wall. The shock was enough to surprise Iida. Ochako used this distraction to make herself weightless and jump to the computer, shutting down the gas. Heroes win. All Might shouted. Later on everyone was back in the main room. Alright, who can tell me who the MVP is, All Might said. There is actually no MVP here, sir, but everyone here has played an important part in the exercise, Momo said, raising her hand. First off, Yagi. He knows his quirk is powerful, but he limited himself to keep from causing collateral damage, and he also used his opponent's quirk against him to protect himself. As for Uraraka, she managed to take the distracted Iida as an opportunity to go and shut down the computer, doing so quickly. Bakugo was forceful with his quirk, yes, but he managed to stick to his assigned role without causing serious injury. Iida also took his role very seriously. Everyone was shocked at how Momo was spitting up such intriguing facts about everyone. That's a lot of facts, but that is very true, All Might said. Each of you did an incredible job on the exercise. I'm kinda jealous how he managed to use my explosions against me, Katsuki said. Alright, the next team will know these guys. All Might said. It was Team B, Kenshi and Momo as the villains versus Team J, Kaminari and Jiro as the heroes. Inside the building Kenshi and Momo were thinking of a plan. He turned to face Momo and asked a question only to face her rear. He quickly turned around with a red face. Imnitapervert. Kenshi, are you okay? Momo asked. I'm fine, Kenshi said, so I guess barricading the room is part of your plan. Yes, Momo explained, these bars should keep them from getting in. I got another idea, Kenshi said, pulling out the cloaking device from Perfect Dark. What did you have in mind? Momo asked. Meanwhile, Kaminari and Jiro were going around trying to find the bomb. No luck, Jiro said, this place is like a frickin' maze. Jiro then put her jacks in the wall, looked at Jiro and then pointed upwards. She apparently heard Kenshi's footsteps, which was short-lived when Denki found out his shoes were tied together, causing Jiro to laugh. What happened? You forgot to tie your shoes. She saw a blur dashing around the room. Thinking quickly, she plugged her earphones into the ground and listened to the sound of the footsteps. When she saw an opening, she did a roundhouse kick, hitting Kenshi in the chest. The effect of the cloaking device wore off due to how hard he was hit. Wow, those earphone jacks are truly a weapon to behold, Kenshi said. You're damn right they are, Jiro said. You best give up and tell me where the computer room is, Tiny. I'll show you who's tiny, Kenshi said. He pulled out the super mushroom and ate it, growing a bit in size. He was the same height as Jiro. Kenshi got into a fighting stance and motioned for her to come at him. Jiro lunged at Kenshi using her earphone jacks as a means of attacking to keep her distance. Kenshi put his parkour training to good use and dodged the attacks by ducking, and moving to the left and the right. Kenshi then punched Jiro, sending her back. Didn't your mother ever tell you not to hit a lady? Jiro asked. He then jumped at a wall and did a wall jump, then slammed on the ground using his buttocks. It was enough to make her lose her balance and tumble to the floor. Jiro started using her earphone jacks to try and hit Kenshi once more, and he did a few back flips. He then pulled out a Pokeball from his inventory and threw it. It released a Blossom, which released some kind of sleep move onto Jiro. She was starting to fall asleep. "Ah, you mother F you," she said before she hit the floor. Kenshi then tied them both using the capture tape. They were tied to each other, face to face. Villains win, All Might said. Damn, Kirishima said. Jojo just turned invisible using a cloaking device. He's got one super op quirk. After a few more matches, All Might congratulated everyone. You all did amazing in class today. I look forward to our next class. All Might said. Until then, All Might away. He dashed off into the sky. Dude, you're lucky to have the #1 hero as your dad, Kaminari said. I'm not that lucky, Izuku said. Meanwhile, in another unknown location, someone was working on some kind of creation. It had bulging muscles, a beak-like mouth, and some veins all around its body. A man with silver and blue skin was developing it. You think he's ready? A man with hands asked. Yes, he said, the only thing left to be done is give it a few abilities, then it will be complete. We will put an end to this foolish hero society once and for all. Chapter 12, Class President. Another day has emerged. Kenshi was walking to class alongside Momo. They agreed to walk to class together. As Kenshi and Momo were walking, they were confronted by Hayate, who walked out of his homeroom. What do you think you're doing with my chick Jotaro? He asked. Kenshi looked around and didn't see anyone. Oh wait, I don't see one, Kenshi said. I'm talking about Yaoyorozu, Hayate said. She's my chick and you have no right to be around her. Your chick? Momo asked, as if. And before you ask, no, I'm not tired of him and I never will be. So quit hitting on me. Jiro saw this and rushed over to their aid. She had her earphone jacks up as if they were fighting hands. Scram, you overgrown absorption prick, Jiro said. Do you not know who you're talking to? Hayate asked with his ego dripping off of him. Oh, Hayate. Sorry, I mistook you for a giant pile of shit. Now please get out of our way and leave us alone, would you? Jiro asked. Aizawa walked out of the homeroom to confront the students. Is there a problem? Then I suggest you get back to your homeroom, Aizawa said. Come on, I gotta teach this brat a lesson for stealing my. Aizawa's hair started to rise and his eyes turned red. Are you questioning me? Aizawa asked. Not at all, sir. Hayate started to head back to his dorm. Aizawa began to laugh. My god, that dude is so gullible, he said. Kenshi, Momo, and Jiro were confused. I mean, he's smart as a whip. Just a sucker. That last word, his voice changed to a female. He then started to melt and turn into a girl with blonde hair, and 2 messy buns. The name's Himiko Toga, 2nd year at UA. I'm Kenshi, Kenshi said. This is Momo, and Jiro. Well, hopefully we'll see each other again, Toga said, walking away. Oh, and tell Izu and Ocha I said hi. Sure, Jiro said. Everyone was in their respective classes. Alright, I have your battle training results, Aizawa said. Yagi, keep working on that super strength quirk of yours. I know I said to give it your all, but don't use a specific output until you're ready for it. He turned to Kenshi. As for you Jotaro, you have great potential, and show promise in the world of heroes. But don't get attached to one item. You have a large arsenal at your disposal. Use it. Yes sir, Kenshi said. Now you all need to pick a class president, Aizawa said. I propose we hold a vote, Iida suggested. That seems fair, just have it done before my nap is over, Aizawa said, falling asleep. After a bit of voting it was decided. The class rep was Kenshi. Wait, how did I get all the votes? Kenshi asked. So it's decided, Aizawa said, Jotaro is our class rep, and Yaoyorozu is our deputy. Let's do our best Kenshi, Momo said. It's an honor. Kenshi said. His body was stiffened and hardened for humorous effect. Whoa, when did he learn to use my quirk? Kirishima asked. I think it's because he's nervous, Sue said, come to think of it, I don't think he's done something like this before. Later on at the cafeteria, Kenshi had his head on the table, completely embarrassed by what just happened. Oh, come on Kenshi. It's not that bad. If anything, you should be happy. Momo told him while patting his back. Kenshi said. But I completely embarrassed myself in front of the whole class. I'm not qualified for this. Sure you are, Kami reassured him, you gave it your all in fight training, plus you saved dozens of people from that zero PTR. You even gave Jiro a run for her money during fight training. I heard that hippie. Jiro said. Well, I'm not wrong, fam, Kami replied to Jiro. Well, I would have gotten him if he didn't know that my ears are sensitive. Jiro defended. Oh, actually, I kind of forgot that your ears were sensitive. Katsuki said. I guess I could give it a shot, Kenshi said. That's the spirit Kenshi. Momo said as she patted his head once more. Kenshi tried using the chopsticks to get the noodles. Momo giggled a bit seeing him struggle. This is how you use them, she said, showing him. She then fed him a bit. Jiro was watching. Yaomomo and Jojo are flirting. No we are not. Kenshi and Momo shouted. Kenshi looked to his left and noticed something. Hey, is it me, or do Deku and Uraraka seem closer? Kenshi asked. He saw them sharing a meal. Ochako fed him some of her lunch and they were snuggling. The two of them admitted their feelings towards each other earlier in the week, and they began dating. Izuku was a blushing mess when he asked Ochako out and mind your own business narrator. Izuku said. What? I'm just telling them what happened. Wow, they're dating, Jiro said, about fucking time. Suddenly the alarm went off. What's going on? Iida asked. Someone's invaded the school. We gotta evacuate. Everyone started running for their lives. People were pushing and shoving trying to get out. Jiro grabbed Kaminari's hand to stay close to him. Kenshi started climbing up to get to higher ground. Once he was away from the crowd, he looked out of the window and saw that it was those dumbass reporters. Are you kidding me? He heard a cry for help. He saw Momo struggling with the crowd. Momo! He shouted to get her attention. Using quick thinking, Kenshi pulled out the web shooters from Spider-Man PS4. He then fired a web directly at Momo and pulled her up to where he was at, keeping her safe. He held her close to keep her balanced. Are you okay? I am now, Momo said, thank you. Momo, can you make a megaphone? Kenshi asked. Momo nodded. She started unbuttoning her shirt then stopped. What's wrong? Kenshi asked. Momo gestured. Oh, sorry, he said. Momo created a megaphone and gave it to Kenshi. Everyone stoop. Kenshi shouted. This caught everyone's attention. It's just the media trying to barge into UA and get questions about All Might. There's nothing to be afraid of. At this point everyone started acting civil and returned to their classes. All while the media was being chased away by the police. Kenshi, that was amazing, Momo said. Thanks, Kenshi said, maybe I can do this whole class president thing. That's the spirit, Momo said, before noticing Kenshi's red face. What? Momo, Kenshi said as he gestured to her shirt still unbuttoned, exposing her stomach and bra. Momo blushed and covered herself up, and then bowed to Kenshi. Sorry you had to see that. Jiro was smirking. They're flirting again. Kenshi and Momo continued having lunch together at the cafeteria. It's kind of funny, Momo said. What? Kenshi asked. Well, you used to call yourself a nerdy gamer, yet here you are keeping us from getting trampled and such. I'm still that nerdy gamer, but now I can actually use items and I'm in a hero school, Kenshi said. Momo looked at Kenshi. You're more than the items, they're all amazing, but they're nothing without the boy who uses them, Momo said, and what you did during fight training, and how you handled the crowd today proves that in more ways than one. She then put her hand on top of Kenshi's and smiled. You're my hero, Kenshi, Momo said. I mean, you're a hero. Kenshi chuckled a bit, then a bit of silence. Well, you're my hero too, Momo. He told her. The two of them smiled at each other. They were then about to share a kiss until Yaoyorozu. Jotaro. Iida shouted, Mr. Aizawa has asked me to gather you for the USJ rescue training. Technically that's my job since I'm class president, Kenshi said. Later on everyone was heading to the bus. They were going to the USJ to work on rescue training. Momo approached Jiro. Jiro, I think I have feelings for Kenshi. Jiro looked up from her phone. Okay, why are you stating it like it isn't obvious? She asked. Wait, is it really that obvious? Momo asked while stuttering. Yao Momo, you spend almost every minute you can around him, you teamed up with him in fight training, and let's not forget the times you gave him good advice. Yes, it's that fucking obvious. Jiro told the tall girl, with a sly smirk. Momo started while twiddling with her thumbs. Well, I wonder if it would be selfish of me to ask him to spend some time with me outside of school. I don't wanna intrude on his personal agenda. Yao Momo, please stop, you're too adorable, it's killing me. Jiro said. I'm confused about what you mean. Momo said. Don't worry so much, I'm sure Jojo would love to spend some time with you. Okay everyone, let's get on the bus, Kenshi said, single file. Please. Everyone got on the bus single file as asked. Sue approached Kenshi. Hey Jojo, I have a question about your quirk, well both your quirk and Yagi's quirk. What do you want to know about my quirk, Asui? Kenshi asked. Call me Sue, Sue stated. Oh, sorry, Sue. Anyway, what's your question? Kenshi asked. So you can summon any video game item? Sue asked. Well, there are a few items I haven't tried, Kenshi said, maybe I need more experience points or something to unlock them. I did start using it more when I was 10. My dad wouldn't let me use my quirk in the house. What? Why? Mina and Toru asked in unison. He thinks quirks are a curse in the world, or as he calls them, a virus, and thinks they should all disappear, like the superhuman society. Pardon my unmanly language, but fuck that guy. Kirishima said. Language. Iida said. Okay, now to you, Yagi, Sue said, I noticed your second quirk, stockpile, is very similar to your dad. But in addition to that I noticed you can also fly and repel objects. Well, I guess I was just born lucky to have two quirks, Izuku told her. Well, I believe the both of you have amazing quirks, Aoyama said, you're bound to have a unique buffet of super moves. I myself have a support item for a new move called Naval Laser. It's a super move with the perfect combination of penis and strength, focusing power from my belly. But it's lame if it gives you a stomach ache after 1 second, sweetheart. Mina told him, patting him on the shoulder. Don't sweat it, Deku. I'm sure your super moves will be good. Ochako said as she pecked his cheek. 47 Chapter 14, Kenshi Jotaro Origins Part 2. For the last few years, Winry was living the life of a high-class woman, and lived in a very rich mansion. Her husband had servants attend to her, giving her anything she needed. Soon she found herself pregnant with her first child, and gave birth to him. She would spend every minute by his side. I think I'll name him Kenshi, Winry said. She gave Kenshi her maiden name Jotaro. Whereas she would show him love and compassion, Howard would be more strict with him, disciplining him for even the slightest act of disobedience. Winry was not approving of how harsh he was towards Kenshi, believing everyone makes mistakes. Howard, however, disagreed with her, thinking Kenshi should be perfect with every single detail. When Kenshi turned 4, Winry snuck him out of the mansion and brought him to a quirk doctor. It was time to see what kind of quirk he would have. Well, Mrs. Norstein, you should be proud, the doctor said, your son has a very unique quirk. Really? Winry asked. Yep, it seems like he has a very strange and unique quirk. He has the ability to summon fictional weapons. The doctor noted. Really? The 4-year-old boy asked. Yes, the doctor told him, try and think of one right now. Kenshi thought about something. When he was younger he played a Zelda game and looked at the Master Sword thinking it was cool. He thought of that very sword and it magically appeared in his hand. Whoa, so cool. he said. Very cool, the doctor said, you will be a great hero with that quirk. Hero. What's that? Kenshi asked, scratching his head. This shocked the doctor and his mother. Oh, strange. Normally kids your age would be aesthetic about being a hero at your age. The doctor noted. Heroes are people that use their superpowers to help people, and encourage them to follow their dreams, Winry said with a smile. That's right. And with a quirk like yours, you can be one of the best. The doctor told him. Kenshi smiled at those words. I want to be a hero, he said. At this, Winry and Kenshi were happy with their visit and was on their way. The doctor then took his glasses off. I'm getting too old for this, he said. A kid who's never heard of superheroes. What's next? A kid not believing they can be a hero without a superpower. Later on, Winry took Kenshi back home. As they opened the door, they saw Howard sitting on a chair. And where have you two been? Howard asked. His study session began 1 minute and 35 seconds ago and he's late. We lost track of time, Winry made up an excuse. Now where were you? Howard asked. I took Kenshi to see the quirk doctor. Winry explained. A quirk doctor, Well, I hope he hasn't learned any new words that he's not supposed to. Howard said. Of course not, Winry said. What I did learn about is heroes, Kenshi said. He said I have a quirk that's gonna make me a hero. When I grow up I'm gonna be the best. Slap. Kenshi then fell to the floor as he started screaming from being slapped by his father. Howard. Winry shouted, what is wrong with you? That word right there. That was the word I didn't want him to learn. Howard shouted. Heroes have no place in this household. But no buts. Howard stated. Now, you're late for your studies. He then started dragging him away. Later on Kenshi was in his room doing his studies. Worry and anger filling her eyes, Winry went to her so-called husband's room. What was that all about? What do you mean? Howard asked. You just slapped your son and dragged him by his collar. Winry retorted. Because he was following something that goes against my beliefs, Howard stated. He should not be worshipping heroes. Worshipping? You're comparing heroes to gods or something. He just looks up to them and wants to be one himself. Winry told him. Kenshi was put on this earth for one thing and one thing only, Howard said, to take over the company when I retire. Not waddle in something as pointless as hero work. Pointless? Winry asked. Exactly. Heroes are nothing more than costume-wearing phonies that play pretend. And there shall be no talk of heroes in this house. No playing heroes, no talking about heroes, and no even thinking about heroes. Do I make myself clear? Clear as a mountain of shit. You're really going to take away our son's childhood for some stupid company. Winry shouted, the Yaoyorozus probably have more of a successful company than you'll ever. Before she could even finish her thought, Howard stood up and backhanded his own wife and she fell to the floor. Don't you ever disrespect my company again. He walked out and slammed the door. At this, Winry just sat on the floor and hugged her legs as she cried into them. She missed her old life, and her old family. She didn't want her son to be forced to be someone he wasn't. Chapter 13, USJ Invasion. Later on the class arrived at the USJ. Everyone started to walk inside and see the many wonders that were everywhere. Various landscapes and areas to practice rescue training. As Aizawa was explaining the lesson that would happen, a shadow was merging with his shadow. Suddenly he was doing some weird movements. The class was laughing. Izuku noticed something. Tenko, you jackass, Izuku said with a chuckle. Everyone turned to see the pro-hero, Tenko Shimura aka Shadowmaster. His quirk allowed him to manipulate his shadow, and also possess other people. Next to him was his twin sister Hana, whose quirk enabled her to fly like Paragon. Is that our little cousin Ishuku? Hana asked. Yes it is, Hana. Glad to see you made into the hero course, cousin. Tenko said. Glad to see you're following your dreams too, Izuku said. As the cousins had their little reunion, Ochako saw the Space Hero 13. Oh my god, it's the Space Hero 13, I'm such a big fan of you, you're an amazing hero, I wanna grow up to be just like you. Ochako said, fangirling and muttering just like Izuku does. Wow, looks like his muttering managed to spread, Katsuki said. One of the doors was barged open. It was a group of villains invading the USJ. One of them saw the students. You think All Might will show if we harm some kids? He asked. Oboro, you keep the kids safe. Tenko said. Oboro started making warp gates to various areas. He was planning to divide and conquer. Aizawa started going after the villains. Sir, can you handle all those villains yourself? Kenshi asked. No pro hero is a one-trick pony, Aizawa said, now go. Momo grabbed Kenshi's hand and brought him into one of the warp gates. He saw colors of black and purple, then saw a light. Kenshi fell to the ground. He looked around and based on his surroundings he was somewhere in the landslide zone. Wow, that guy's quirk is no joke, he said. He moved his hand and felt something soft. Wow, the terrain is kinda soft for a landslide area, he said. Kenshi, said a familiar voice, please let go. Ah, Kenshi said as he released his hand from her breast, Momo, I am so sorry, please don't hit me. Kenshi, it's okay, Momo said, I know you didn't mean it. Are you okay? I am, what about you? You guys landed here too, Jiro said as she ran over along with Kaminari. Looks like it, Kenshi stated, I hope the others are okay. They might be, but you won't, said someone. They were looking at a few thugs who were in the same area as they were. Kenshi got into a fighting stance, prepared to protect his friends. In another location, Izuku and Ochako landed on a boat. It looks like they were in the shipwreck area. Izuku saw something swimming in the water. The strange creature surfaced. Izuku and Ochako noticed it was just a classmate. You definitely gave them a scare, Asui. She looked at the author. I told you to call me Sue. Are you two okay? Izuku asked. Yay, we're fine, looks like Tenko and the others managed to get us all into safe areas, Ochako said. There were a few low-level criminals in the area. One of them looked at Izuku. Maybe All Might will come if we kill some kids, he said. Izuku channeled OFA around his entire body, at 20%. Come at me, Izuku said. The crook came running at him with a crowbar. However, he was too slow. Izuku dashed at him and punched him in the gut, sending him flying. That was barely a challenge, Izuku said. Back in the main area, Aizawa was kicking ass using nothing but martial arts. He was the kind of hero who didn't rely on a quirk to be a hero. Hana was flying around distracting a few of the villains while her twin brother possessed one of them using his shadow. In addition to controlling someone with their shadow, he could also use their quirks against them too. One of them had some kind of shield quirk and was being forced to attack his own men. This is fun, Tenko said. As they continued fighting, they heard a loud screech. The doors were barged open, revealing some kind of monstrous being with large muscles and black skin. Tenko looked at it and it looked familiar. Wait, those things, they couldn't be, Tenko said. Back at the landslide area, Kenshi, Momo and the others were fighting to protect each other. One of them saw Kaminari trying to crawl away and grabbed him by the hair. Now, put your hands behind your head and... Before the villain could continue, some strange spider-like legs appeared out of Kenshi's back. They were part of the spider armor from Spider-Man PS4. They started clawing the villain. Kenshi turned around and smirked. You just got JoJo'd. Jiro face-palmed herself. The other villains looked at Kenshi and then at each other. They got their weapons out prepared to fight. Suddenly, the song Bury the Light started playing. Why do I hear boss music? One of the villains asked. They then saw Kenshi with the Yamato. Momo then was facing the villains. You just made a big mistake, bub, Momo said, too actually. Like what, little lady? The electric guy asked. Your first mistake was attacking a girl who is trained in several styles of combat, Momo told him. Your second was trying to hurt the boy I love. Kenshi started to blush hearing that. Wait, is she talking about me? Momo then created a cannon that ripped through her hero costume. She quickly fired the cannon at the villain, knocking him out cold. The others looked at her as if she were crazy. They then ran away in fear. Jesus Christ, she's crazy, said one of them. Jiro and Kaminari peeked out. Is it safe to come out? Kaminari asked. I would assume so, Momo said as she turned around. All the villains in this area ran off. She turned to see her friends with red faces and blushing like Mad Hatters. What is it? She asked. Yao Momo, you're kinda. You're overexposed. Jiro quickly said. Momo noticed her costume was ripped apart all over. Oh, I can make some new clothes. Kenshu then pulled out a red men's dress shirt from his gaming inventory and gave it to her. Here, to cover yourself, Kenshi said. Momo started to blush a bit before she reached over and took the shirt. She smiled nervously and chuckled. Could I what? Kenshi asked. Realization started to hit. Oh, sorry. He quickly turned around while Momo put on the shirt. Okay. You can look now, Momo told him. Kenshi turned around to face Momo. The way the shirt fit her figure made him blush even more. How do I look? Momo asked. The two of them gave Momo a thumbs up. Momo smiled at Kenshi, touched by his deed. Thank you, Kenshi. She then pecked him on the cheek. Kenshi's face was as red as a tomato. AHA. Jiro said. They then heard a loud roar. It was the mysterious creature known as the Nomu. It gave Aizawa a serious beating with its brute strength. Tenko and Hana managed to grab him and get him to safety. Izuku and Ochako just got done evacuating everyone out of the USJ, when Izuku saw the beast trying to attack his cousins. Ochako, stay back, Izuku said, I need to put this thing down. He dashed forward to the Nomu. He then pulled his right fist back, prepared to throw a hard punch. Detroit, smash. He punched the Nomu hard. However, it had no effect. It was as if it was built to surpass All Might's power. The Nomu started throwing a few punches of its own. Izuku started dodging left and right to evade the attacks. He then jumped over and put his fingers together. He flicked the fingers, emitting a blast of air at the Nomu. Kenshi and the others made it to the main area to see Izuku fighting that thing. The Nomu then saw an opening and backhanded Izuku, sending him flying. Kenshi ran towards Izuku and caught him just in time. You okay? He asked. Yay, thanks, Izuku said. Kenshi gave him his hand and helped him up. As he did so, he felt some kind of shock through his body. He didn't have time to react as the Nomu was getting closer. It looked at Izuku. Jojo, get out of here, Izuku said. The Nomu prepared to charge at Izuku and attack once more. Kenshi wasn't gonna let it happen. He got into a stance, and some kind of veins appeared throughout his body. Bro, he said, back. The hell? The Nomu started running. Off. Kenshi lunged at the Nomu and jumped up. He threw a right hook at the Nomu right in the face, somehow sending it flying. Kenshi then landed on his feet and looked at himself. Wait, isn't this Deku's power? He asked. Chapter 14, USJ Victory. Kenshi was in awe at what he just did. He somehow punched at Nomu using something similar to Izuku's quirk. Izuku was in just as much shock as Kenshi was. However, he didn't have time to react as the Nomu was getting back up. Jojo, look out. Kenshi saw the Nomu about to attack once more. However, he instantly dodged out of the way. Izuku followed suit and aimed his arm at the Nomu once more. However, instead of an air current, some kind of blackish-greenish whips emerged from him. The whips wrapped around the Nomu. Using this to his advantage, Izuku pulled and threw the Nomu down to the ground, giving him and Kenshi enough time to escape. The Nomu got back up and started to chase after the two. However, someone dropped down from the air right in front of it. It was All Might in a dashing suit. However, something was different. He wasn't smiling. It's going to be okay now, because I am here, All Might said. He heard that someone was attacking his students. Fighting him and threatening him was one thing. But if there's one thing you should never do, it's attack those closest to him, especially his students. Izuku, Jotaro, evacuate the others while I take out the trash, All Might said. We'll help Uncle, Tenko said as he dragged Aizawa away. Well, I see you found our new toy, said someone as they walked out of the shadows, clapping their hands. It was a man with some kind of arms all around him. He had dark blue hair and a hand on his face. This here is the Nomu, and it was made to withstand your so-called power, the man said. Oh, how rude of me. I never even introduced myself. My name is Tamura, and I was born to end the era of peace. He touched the ground, showcasing his quirk. He could somehow turn anything he touches into ash. Nomu. Kill him. All Might then lunged at the Nomu, prepared to kill, All Might following suit, pulling his arm back to throw a hard punch. He was gonna go beyond. Their fists collided, creating a shockwave. One of the many powers of this creation is shock absorption. Tamura said. What about it? All Might said, that's different than quirk nullification. All Might and the Nomu kept exchanging blow after blow. As Izuku was evacuating the students, he saw All Might taking a beating. The Nomu then lunged at All Might, refusing to let up and throwing a flurry of punches at him. Izuku watched in horror as this was happening. To make matters worse, the creature then punched All Might hard in the face, then grabbed All Might and threw him at a wall. No, Izuku said. The Nomu was about to attack him once more. Suddenly he saw a crowd of people watching what was going on. Tamura saw this as an opportunity. Nomu, let's make All Might suffer as he fails to protect a crowd of people, Tamura said, kill them. The Nomu started to dash after the citizens. However, Kenshi dashed forward, wanting to help. He grabbed a fire flower, and then he jumped up in the air and pulled his left arm back. He tried summoning that strange power once more, wanting to use it to protect. Falcon Punch. He punched the Nomu hard in the face. As he did, some strange light in the shape of a falcon emerged. Izuku dashed forward and helped his father up. Kenshi turned to All Might and gave him some kind of green mushroom. Take it, he said. All Might ate the mushroom. Afterwards, it was as if any injury he sustained disappeared. Thank you, young Jotaro, All Might said, now go join the others where it's safe. Yes sir, Kenshi said as he hurried out of the scene. You too Izuku, All Might said as he turned to his son. No, Izuku told him, what kind of hero would I be if I stood by the sidelines knowing someone I care about is in danger? If you're fighting that thing to protect everyone, then so am I. He channeled full cowling around his entire body at 50%. All Might couldn't help but smile at his son. Can I count on your help then? All Might asked. You bet your ass, Izuku said. The father and son duo looked at the Nomu and channeled their true power within. Izuku dashed forward punching the Nomu. He dashed around in various areas to tire out the Nomu and distract it. While he was doing that, All Might dashed forward and put his hands together. Carolina Smash. A reporter and a news crew were around and saw the commotion. It seems like All Might and some kid are working together to face a powerful threat. The reporter said. Izuku channeled those strange whips once more and grappled the Nomu. Get over here. Izuku then pulled the Nomu towards him and delivered a 50% right hook strike to the face, sending it flying towards All Might, who delivered a fast flurry of punches all over. There's clearly a limit to how many blows this beast can absorb, All Might, so the best thing to do is go beyond that limit. All Might punched the Nomu in the gut super hard, sending it flying. Somehow it was reaching its limit, much to Tamura's dismay. It's time Izuku, All Might said, to go beyond. Plus Ultra. Izuku finished. The two of them dashed forward to the Nomu, channeling 100% of their power into their right and left arm, prepared to deliver the final blow. Father-son Detroit. SMAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA When the dust cleared, everyone saw Izuku and All Might raising their fist up in victory, defeating the mysterious foe. Everyone else looked at the two and were instantly scared. One of them went to a police car. "I'd like to go to jail now, please." Everyone else cheered for Izuku and All Might. The villains were arrested, however the mysterious Tamura was nowhere to be seen. He must have made his escape. Some reporters were walking over to Izuku and All Might. "All Might, who is this boy beside you?" the reporter asked, "and why does he have a power similar to yours?" "This young boy is a student of UA, All Might, and possibly the next #1 hero. Had it not been for him, I would probably be in more trouble." All Might then raised Izuku in the air. People started cheering for Izuku, praising him for his victory against evil. Ochako and Katsuki started walking through the crowd. "Pardon me, excuse me, best friends coming through," Katsuki said, "that would be me and round face." "Deku, don't make a habit of this," Ochako said, "there's other ways of getting attention, you know." "I'll try to remember that," Izuku stated. "How's everyone else?" Izuku asked. "Aizawa took a beating from that thing," Ochako said. 13 is okay, but her suit was badly damaged. She's taking it in for repairs. Everyone else is okay, fortunately." Izuku smiled. "Good," Izuku said. Ochako smiled knowing the boy she cared about was okay. She then kissed him in front of the entire class. Mina was jumping up and down. "Woo! You get it, girl," Mina shouted. As everyone was celebrating, Yorichi was watching them. He was surprised as he somehow used another quirk that he was not born with. He then turned to Banjo who had a smirk on his face. "Well, I'll be damned," he said, "he managed to use my quirk." "Strange," Yorichi said. "What's even more strange is the fact that Jotaro somehow has the quirk as well. Then again, One for All is a very mysterious quirk with wonder. Perhaps he is the chosen one." "Don't act mysterious on us, be happy," Banjo said. "Izuku and All Might beat that creature." That's true, Yorichi stated, perhaps I should talk with Izuku and Kenshi about this matter. Chapter 15, A Break from School. Class 1A was given 2 weeks off to relax after the whole USJ disaster. Kenshi was walking over to Momo's house to hang out. He made his way past the gold gate, and walked into the main office where a man in his mid-50s was filling out paperwork. Bernard, is Momo here? He asked curiously, with sparkles in his eyes. Yes, she should be free after their meeting, Bernard answered, his voice having a slight sense of nerves. Meeting? Kenshi asked as he scratched his head. That's odd, Momo didn't tell me about a meeting going on. Perhaps I missed a. Maybe I'm not being clear, shouted a voice startling the two. In another room where the door was open, Momo and her parents were speaking with the number 2 hero, Endeavor, with Shoto by his side. Endeavor was trying to arrange a marriage between Momo and Shoto. Kenshi went over to that room and put his ear by that door to hear what exactly was going on. You would do well to accept my proposal, Endeavor said. Your daughter Momo will produce powerful children to surpass All Might. And those children will surpass All Might. Our daughter is entitled to make her choices, Makoto stated, and this deal of yours is outdated. I will not allow you to sully my family's name just so you can take All Might's place. Shoto only stood there while Endeavor went on about the whole ordeal. Endeavor turned his attention to Momo. This will bring good fortune to you Yaoyorozu, Endeavor said, my son will make sure you are happy, taken care of and more. Accept this arrangement. Momo shook her head. I apologize but I will not marry your son, Momo said as she tugged on the bottom of her shirt, wanting this meeting to be over. Deep down, she was petrified, scared of what Endeavor might do to her and her family. She was praying for something to happen. Meanwhile, Kenshi was listening in on the conversation. He wasn't going to just stand by idly watching someone go through something. And what makes you think you won't be taking this offer? Endeavor asked, his right hand was starting to develop a flame. Momo was thinking hard for an answer. All of a sudden, Kenshi ran into the room. Because I'm her fiancé, Kenshi blurted out randomly, his face sweating. What? Endeavor asked. What? Momo asked. What? Kenshi asked before realizing what he was doing. I mean, yay. I'm Momo's fiancé. This boy. Endeavor asked, with a confused look on his face, one of his eyebrows rising up, curiously. Momo decided to play along with Kenshi's fib. That's right, Momo said as she took Kenshi's hand. His fiancé. Perhaps you don't know about this boy's past, Endeavor said. I've done research on who his father is and as you can see, we are well aware of what Kenshi has been through, Hinoka interrupted as she stood from her chair. Even if we weren't, we wouldn't judge him for who his father is, or what he's done. This is preposterous, Endeavor said, turning to Makoto, hoping to settle the dispute. Sir, I suggest you end this and arrange the. We will have nothing to do with your scheme to usurp All Might, Makoto said, with a quietened temper, defiantly raising his arm pointing to the door. Now good day. Endeavor was about to speak, but was interrupted. My husband said good day, Hinoka said while pointing at the door, signaling him to leave immediately. Endeavor clicked his tongue and started walking out. Come Shoto, he said, with a defeated look on his face. Shoto followed suit. As soon as they left, everyone sighed in relief. Makoto turned to Kenshi with a smile on his face. Thank you for stepping in and doing that, he told him as he sat back down on his chair. That being said, what can we do for you? Pardon my language, but, what the fuck was that all about? Kenshi asked, waving his arms about. Well, Endeavor was just barging in here having a bit of a fire-induced temper tantrum, trying to best All Might. I figured this had to do with All Might, Kenshi said. The number 2 and number 1 heroes are always butting heads. This had happened for years ever since he had his children, Shoto said stepping in the house before bowing down. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for my father's rash actions. Honestly, it is no trouble at all, Hinoka said, waving her hand, brushing off the whole ordeal. Are you aware of quirk marriages? Shoto asked. I know that they are illegal, Momo stated, putting her finger on her chin. That is correct. The practice was banned a few generations after quirks showed up. It forced 2 quirks into marriage and not 2 people. The 2 quirks then combined and were passed on to the offspring. A man such as my father, driven by his desire to beat All Might, used this as his backup plan after he couldn't overcome All Might on his own. Shoto started thinking back to the days of his training with Endeavor. He used my mom to create me and my siblings after he won her relatives over with money. Once I was born and had both his fire and mom's ice, he saw me as this perfect child and raised me to become this perfect successor and the next #1 hero. To do this, he put me through harsh training, and neglected my oldest brother Tuya Todoroki. Kenshi and the others could only listen in shock and horror realizing this. And he thought he had a bad childhood. To make matters worse, when I refused to train, he poured hot boiling water on my right side, and framed my mother for it to keep any loose ends from disrupting us. But one day I'll make him realize that I don't need his power. I thought you should know, because I trust you well enough. Shoto started to walk away. Todoroki, wait, Kenshi said, as Shoto stopped, listen. I can't pretend to know what you're going through, but know this. If you need someone to vent to about this, I'll be there. Shoto gave him a small smile before walking away. Honestly, Endeavor reminds me of my F.A. Howard, Kenshi said. I will probably regret asking, but how does he remind you of your father? Bernard asked. Kenshi sighed. He was a control freak. He wanted to mold me into the perfect CEO that destroys dreams. He views heroes as petty cosplayers. When they first told me about Kenshi's father, I thought to myself, what a terrible man, Hinoka said. But that aside, what brings you by? Makoto asked. Well, I wanted to deliver this to Momo, to thank her for the USJ, answered Kenshi. He handed Momo a handmade Matryoshka doll that looked like her. Momo looked at it and smiled, shedding happy tears. Did you make this? Momo asked with a smile on her face. Kenshi nodded, raising it higher for the others to see it. I had a bit of help from my mom, but yeah, I made it, Kenshi said as he rubbed his neck, bashfully. Other than that, if need be, I can ask a few professors at UA to help you get Endeavor off your case. You'd do that? Hinoka asked, surprised at Kenshi. Of course, ma'am. Anything for my best friend and her family, Kenshi said as he pulled out his phone. As Kenshi walked into another room, he was making a call to a student at UA who was a third year and an excellent hero in training. His cousin. Neon Sakuya. Quirk. Neon. She can manipulate lights of neon and run at high speeds. Hey Ken, what's up? Neon asked. Hey Neon, I need a favor, Kenshi said. Of course, I'd do anything for my favorite cousin, Neon said with a smile on her face. What can I do? Can you get a few of your classmates and professors to show some support for the Yaoyorozu residents? Kenshi asked. Seems like a big favor. But hell yeah, I'm in. If Super Jotaro is supporting the Yaoyorozus, then so am I. Thanks cuz, Kenshi said. Momo hugged Kenshi as she cried tears of happiness. She was very happy that Kenshi would do this for her. You treat me so well, Momo said as she wiped tears from her eyes. Why do you do all this for me? Because you deserve it, Kenshi said. You helped me so many times, so it's time I return the favor. Kenshi noticed a piano in the living room. Is that a piano? He asked. Why yes it is, Momo said as she looked at it, reminiscing the days when she played on it. I studied the piano since I was just a little girl as part of classical education. Kenshi went to the piano and started playing the dungeon theme from Zelda. He then transitioned to Brinstar Depths from Metroid into the Pokemon theme. You play? Makoto asked, surprised. Yeah, I played Guitar Hero and my mom got me a few instruments, and I got skilled at this, guitar, bass and drums. I learned piano just last year. Are you some kind of prodigy? Hinoka asked, amazed by this. As minutes turned to hours, people started showing up, including Kenshi's mom, her new husband, and his niece arrived, with Cementos, Midnight, and Ectoplasm. They were discussing ideas as far as keeping Endeavor off of the Yaoyorozus. Winry approached Momo and smiled at her. It's so good to see you again, Momo dear, she said as she gave her a hug. It's good to see you too, Ms. Jotaro, Momo said with a smile, returning the hug in kind. Why don't you two have some alone time while we discuss things, Makoto said as he smiled at the kids. Kenshi smiled as he nodded at Makoto. There's actually something I want to show you, Kenshi said. He pulled out a small warp pipe and placed it on the floor. The two of them walked through the pipe and it led them into Kenshi's virtual world. Momo was amazed at what she saw. She then noticed an area filled with fire flowers. Let's go there, she said as she pointed to that area. She took his hand and the two of them ran over there. Later on the two of them were laying on the grass, and talking about stuff. This place is incredible, Momo said before she turned her attention to the fire flowers, and these fire flowers give the place such a glow. You can probably guess what they do. Kenshi asked with a smile. Momo touched a fire flower. Her clothes started changing color. Her denim shirt was now a shade of red, her t-shirt was now white, and so were her khaki pants. She also had a fireball in her hand. She threw a fireball. Yeah, I've spent years building this thing from the ground up, Kenshi said. In case something happens, I got backups, and backups for those backups, etc., etc. This is incredible, Momo said. What else do you have in here? I have a gateway to hell just in case I feel like ripping and tearing, Kenshi told her. Momo sat by Kenshi. As the two looked up into the sky, their hands intertwined with one another. Kenshi turned to Momo. Hey Momo, what you said at the USJ, did you really mean that? Kenshi asked as he turned to her. I said a lot of things, but what thing in particular did you mean? Momo asked, as she tilted her head, looking at Kenshi, confused. Well, before you blasted that villain with a cannon, your exact words were, your first mistake was picking a fight with a girl trained in various styles of martial arts. Your second was attacking the boy I love. Did you really mean that? Kenshi asked, with a hint of nervousness in his voice. At that, Momo knew that Kenshi caught her feelings. Now it seemed like a coin flip for her, but as for the authors and readers, it was pretty obvious he would. Yes, Kenshi, I did mean it, Momo told him as she felt his face. Really? He asked her, with hope filling his eyes. She nodded as she turned her body, facing Kenshi. Over the years since I've known you, I've known you're a kind, caring and sweet boy who's always doing things for others. THRUSJ incident made me realize how I truly feel about you. She played with her hair a bit as she told him all of this. Kenshi smiled at what she said. Well, Momo, would you like to, Kenshi started before being interrupted. Yes, I'd love to be your girlfriend, Momo told him. She then approached the boy and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Kenshi's face turned red as he smiled. Momo cupped his face with her hands and giggled at how adorable he was being at the moment. Later on, Kenshi and Momo walked back to her mansion while holding hands. Kenshi opened the door and saw his parents and hers chatting it up and laughing. Hinoka noticed the two holding hands and squealed, saying, "Grandbabies." The two of them blushed. Winry gave Momo a hug. My baby boy finally has a girlfriend, Winry screamed in happiness. Kenshi noticed All Might was there as well. He was talking to the Yaoyorozus and Kenshi's mom about a dormitory system that was being done to protect the students from another villain attack. Both of the prospective families agreed. This is an excellent strategy, All Might, Makoto said. Of course the Yaoyorozus are no stranger to planning as well. I am working with Sai on some secret projects to help you heroes gain the fighting edge against villains. Of course I know my daughter will be safe with you around, Kenshi, he stated as he patted Kenshi on the back. I will kill for your daughter, sir, Kenshi said, with a determined smile on his face, surprising everyone. Dial it back, Makoto told him with a playful tone. Everyone laughed at this. Momo held Kenshi's hand as she laughed alongside her family. She then kissed him on the cheek once again. 47 Chapter 18, Kenshi Jotaro Origins Part 3. Howard was walking through his mansion, and then came across two of his servants. Report, he said. We are on schedule, sir, one of them stated. The bulldozers will arrive within a week. Excellent, Howard stated. Also, the factory in western Musudafu is on schedule as promised, sir, the other servant said. Howard smirked, knowing things were going in his way. He then looked to his right and saw something. 6-year-old Kenshi was sitting on the couch looking at a book with many career paths. A lot of them grabbed his interest, but one was even greater than all of them. A video game designer. He was already having ideas of some kind of virtual reality game he was thinking of. Kenshi, shouted his father, breaking his train of thought, who told you that study time was over? I was just taking a little break, Kenshi said. Howard snatched the book away from Kenshi and looked at it. So you think you can find another career? Well, you're wrong, Howard said. A CEO is the only career you'll ever have. No other career would even tolerate a curse like you around, especially with your quirk. Kenshi looked down to the ground as he was once again degraded and judged by his father for wanting to choose his own path. Where did you get this book anyway? One of the kids in the park gave it to me, they said I should have it. Well, you're no longer allowed to go to that park or go near those kids. But Dad, they were just People distracting you from your true purpose, and living in their little fantasy world. That's why most of them get in the middle of villain attacks. Because they had their heads in the clouds instead of looking where they were going. Some of them never even saw the quirk monger coming. Quirk monger? Kenshi asked, with a hint of fear in his voice. Yes, the quirk monger, a demon who goes around stealing the quirks of those who are unworthy of them, or those who disobey or disrespect their parents, and then he devours their souls, Howard told him, and the demon will get you too if you don't behave. Do I make myself clear? Kenshi nodded sadly. Good, Howard said as he ripped the book to shreds. Now get these ridiculous fantasies out of your head, and get back to studying. Kenshi ran back to the study hall. One day, Kenshi and Winry were out taking a walk, taking a long break from studying business. Kenshi noticed a hero school near the park they were walking by. Mom, look, he said, pointing to it, a hero school. Would you like to see it? Winry asked. I do, but what about Dad? Kenshi asked. It will be our little secret, Winry said with a smile. Okay, Kenshi whispered. The two of them were walking up to the hero school. They noticed everyone, staff, and students were outside. They were confused as to what was going on. Is there an assembly? Winry asked. She looked to her left and saw a group of bulldozers driving to the school. They belonged to the human industries. What's going on? Winry asked. The bulldozers were driving to the school, prepared to tear the entire building down. Everyone watched in shock and horror as the event unfolded. Kenshi and Winry were shocked the most. Why are they tearing down the building? One student asked. Yeah, are they building a new one? Asked another student. Howard then walked out of his car and grabbed a megaphone. Ladies and gentlemen, as of today this hero school is no more, he said. I have won the vote to tear down this entire school, and replace it with a factory to help with my industry. Are we at least being transferred to another hero school? Asked a student. Last I checked, it wasn't my problem, Howard stated. Kenshi and Winry were shocked that Howard would go this far. Kenshi went up to the teens. Guys, please don't be mad at my dad, Kenshi said. Wait, you're his son? One student asked. Yes, but. He didn't get to explain as he was interrupted by kids jeering at him, throwing things and insults at him. My dreams of being a hero are dashed because of him, shouted a kid. You're gonna grow up to be like that bastard, shouted another kid. Pampered palace brat. Everyone, please stop. I assure you, he's not like him. I swear, Winry shouted, trying to reason with a crowd of angry teenagers. But, we all know how that goes. They all chased Kenshi and Winry away from the now-deceased hero school. A few minutes later they made it back home. Howard looked at them and saw they were pelted with things. He looked at Kenshi and then pulled his newspaper up. Kenshi ran up to his room, clearly upset. Ahem, Winry said. What? Aren't you going to ask him what's wrong? No, actually I'm not. His problems are not my problems. Howard, what a terrible thing to say. The boy needs to learn that being a hero is only going to lead to suffering and misery. If what happened today didn't convince him, I'm not sure what will. Whatever he's crying about, I don't have time to hear about it. A good father would make time. Howard put his paper up to his face and said, a better son would deserve it. Winry had enough and went to her room. This was the last straw for her. Howard came back home after a long day of work. He noticed it was quiet. Too quiet for his liking. He looked around for Kenshi and he was nowhere to be found. He then decided to find Winry. But she wasn't anywhere either. He went to her room and found a note. Don't bother looking for us. Because we aren't coming back. What you did was unforgivable, and what's worse, you dragged your son down with you. You're not a husband or a father. You're nothing but a corrupt businessman. It's over. Goodbye. Meanwhile Winry and Kenshi were on a train getting far away from that house, and far away from that man. Mama, where are we going? Kenshi asked. We're going to a new home. Winry told him. Can I still be a hero after this? Kenshi asked. Of course you can, sweetie. Winry said, hugging her son. Of course you can. They made it off the bus and into Winry's old city where her old life was. Well, this is our new home, Winry said. Winry? Asked a familiar feminine voice. Winry turned and saw her mother. The two women ran up to each other and embraced in a deep hug. Winry's mom looked at Kenshi. Is this my grandson? She asked. Yes mother, Winry said, this is Kenshi Jotaro. I'm Kenshi Jotaro, he said, my quirk lets me make video game items. Is that so? That's quite the quirk you got there. Why don't you and your mother come inside and we'll have some snacks? Count me in, said another familiar voice. It was Winry's old lover, Sai. He had a little girl with her. Sai, Winry asked. I knew you'd come back, my love. Always the gentleman. I sigh. Winry asked with a chuckle at that statement. Someone came out of the house. It was Winry's father, who felt very guilty about the entire ordeal. Winry, I'm not going to ask for your forgiveness, because I need to earn it back. But I realized I was in the wrong, forcing you to marry that man. And for that, I offer my most sincere apology. If you choose not to forgive me, I understand. Winry simply hugged her father. I forgive you, Dad, Winry said. I only wanted what was best for you. This is what's best for her. To make her own life and choose her own future. The best thing you can do is be supportive. Winry's mother said. You're right, her dad said before turning to Sai, about what I did years ago. Water under the bridge, Sai said with a smile. Now let's all get inside and start anew. All of them went inside the house to spend time together. Kenshi was happy as his new life was about to begin. Chapter 16, The Dorms and the Reveal. Izuku and Ochako were in his apartment on the couch sharing a makeout session. Ochako got bold and pinned Izuku down, her bangs flowing down and her smile turning into a smirk. A few of her shirt buttons were undone, and some cleavage was showing. Didn't think I could be so bold, did you? She asked. No, actually, Izuku said. Don't worry, Deku, I won't move it too fast. However, Ochako said before taking his hand and making it squeeze her boob, I'm gonna push it as much as I can. Izuku never knew Ochako had this side in her before. But he liked it. If you plan to do it, you should take it to your room, said a voice startling the both of them. They saw Inko and juped off of each other. Mama Yagi, they said in unison. Inko laughed at the two of them. This reminds me of when Mom caught me and your father in a familiar situation, Inko said before sitting down. In any case, I just got a call from the school talking about the dorms. Dorms? Ochako asked. It's something UA is doing to protect the students from any future villain attacks. I was a bit skeptical, but your father smoothed things over, and also got me a job at the school. Wow, Mom, that's great. Izuku said. Also, we have a guest. She stepped to the side. A man in a suit walked in. Izuku immediately recognized him. Sir Night Eye. Izuku said. Looks like someone's done their homework, he said as he adjusted his glasses with a smile. So you're the boy who has All Might's quirk. How much of it can you use? Right now between 50–60%, the boy answered. Fascinating, Night Eye said. I think you have yourself a bright future ahead of you. But remember not to get too cocky. Sure thing, Izuku said. I'll be watching you, Izuku Yagi, Night Eye told him. Show the world that you're more than just All Might's son, and make his power your own. Well, I should be going now. He took off. After a few days, Class 1A was back at UA. Aizawa was standing by Principal Nezu. Despite the situation that unfolded, I'm glad we could all come back together, Aizawa said. Whoa, you look completely uninjured, as if nothing even happened. Kirishima said. You can have Jotaro to thank for that, Aizawa said. Apparently some of those mushrooms of his can heal injuries. Okay, you are one overpowered person, Jiro said. Did the authors just decide to give you abilities to heal people? Shit, she's onto us. Next chapter. Next chapter. Moving on, Aizawa said, starting today, the dorms system will be active. For the next 3 years you'll be getting along as brothers and sisters while training to be heroes. I know some of you are dating, so sexual activities aren't prohibited, provided you use protection. And no, I don't mean wear armor. Now let's get inside. As they were walking, Kenshi was writing down notes about his classmates and their quirks. Momo took notice of this. They were looking around and checking out the insides and outsides of the dorms. Wow, this is the size of my closet, Momo said. It's the size of my house. Ochako said, falling down. Ochako, Izuku said. There's also a living room, a kitchen, and 2 separate bathrooms. A kitchen? Kenshi asked. This will be perfect. Momo was smiling as if she were a little kid. You okay, Yao Momo? Jiro asked. Have you even tried Kenshi's cooking? It's literally a taste of heaven, Momo said. Wait, you can cook? Jiro asked. I can do a lot of things besides video games, although that's where I learned most of my skills from, Kenshi stated. Just don't put more olive oil on my food than on Popeye's D, Katsuki started but was bopped on the head by Kami. Watch your language, for once. Kami told him. By the way, Yagi and Jotaro, All Might said he wanted to see you later today. Aizawa told the two. While everyone else was still setting up their dorms, Izuku and Kenshi made their way to All Might's office. Once they were there, Kenshi noticed other people here, including Nana. Wait, why are Izuku's cousins and his grandma here? Kenshi asked. Well, we aren't actually his cousins, Yoichi said. Wait, what? Kenshi asked. We are the past users of One for All, Nana said. I was the seventh wielder before Toshinori and Izuku. Wait, what? Kenshi asked. All Might nodded. We also have more news to share, All Might said. Remember when I told you about how this power was used to combat All for One? Izuku nodded. Well, there's more to the story, Yoichi told them. My brother All for One was actually on the side of good. He would usually steal quirks from the villains, and give them to the good people. Myself, All for One, and another ally of ours who we saw as a brother made a team together in hopes of protecting the innocent. The third brother was gifted with a quirk of his own that let him develop gear and technology beyond imagination, and was also given a super strength and super speed and flight quirk. Izuku and Kenshi listened with great interest in the story. We set off with one rule. Never use our quirks for personal gain. Until the third brother tried to defy this rule, and his name forevermore was Absolute. He had a different method for dealing with those who he sees as criminals, and wanted to destroy them all, by using powerful technology he developed. We had no choice but to steal and hide it from him. Whoa, Kenshi said. I too wanted to fight alongside All for One to prevent him from doing so, despite being quirkless. And so my brother passed on to me, a quirk that could stockpile energy into strength and speed. However, what we didn't know is that I had a useless quirk. To transfer DNA onto another. Thus One for All was born. And I assume you know the rest. But that still doesn't explain how I have the power too, Kenshi said, and why is it different from Deku and his dad? One for All is a very mysterious quirk, Nana explained. It must have sensed your desire to protect someone, and your strong sense of justice, and leached some of its power to you. True. It is one power for all who are pure of heart to use, Yoichi told them. So basically I have a permanent super mushroom, Kenshi said. You could call it that, En told him. But what about me? Izuku asked. How was I able to use Banjo's quirk? The core of One for All has been cooking up for years, Banjo told him. Looks like it was waiting for that perfect user. And you fit the bill. For all we know you could also gain access to the quirks of the other users from the past, who knows? Holy shit, Kenshi said. Wait, what happened to the third brother? We assumed he was dead for years after a climactic battle, and we have been battling his forces for years. But I fear he might rise from the ashes sooner or later. Which is why we must be vigilant. Kenshi was thinking how important it was, but he felt like he just had to tell Momo about it. Later on the two of them returned to the dorms. Mina saw them. Hey guys, you're just in time. She exclaimed. Just in time for what? Izuku asked with curiosity. The girls and I were talking, and we have a cool idea. Toru said. We're gonna have a dorm contest. Kenshi smirked at Izuku. How about we start with him? Izuku then went wide-eyed. Wait, no, he pleaded. His pleas fell on deaf ears and Kenshi and Katsuki held him back while the rest went in his room. It was filled with dozens of All Might collectibles, a light, figurines, and posters. It's All Might everywhere. Ochako exclaimed, you're such a fanboy. Well, I admire him. Izuku said, this is embarrassing. This seems like fun, Shiro said. Having our rooms looked at and judged is the complete opposite of fun. Shoto stated. The next room was Katsuki's. He was standing in front of his dorm. No way. Mina and Toru tried pushing him out of the way. They succeeded and walked in. Whoa. It looks like Izuku's but with a darker vibe to it. Mina said. Kirishima looked at a necklace. Whoa, I had something like this in my younger years, he said. This is how boys like to decorate, Mina said. Leave. Now, Katsuki said. Mina saw a spiky bracelet. Whoa, Mina said, so cool. Get out. Next up was Koji Koda, the boy whose quirk let him talk to animals. Kenshi noticed an owl in his room, next to what looked like an exact replica of Harry Potter's wand. Kenshi said. Hey, who's telling the story here, bub? Koda, you're a Harry Potter fan. Koda nodded his head. He then wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to him. My favorite film is The Sorcerer's Stone. Kenshi picked up the wand and pretended to be a wizard. Wingardium Leviosa AAAAAAAR, Kenshi said while swinging the wand around. Momo stopped him. Kenshi, stop, Momo said, you're gonna hurt somebody doing that. Besides, you're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa. Oh, Kenshi said. Up next was Rikido Sato, whose quirk involved making sweets. Kenshi smelled something good from the other side of the room. I smell a cake, he said. Guess I was in the midst of making it and forgot, Sato said. I think I got an idea, Kenshi said. After a few minutes, he came out with a cake with strawberry frosting, strawberry colors, and strawberries all around it. How the fuck, Shiro said. I got one better, where the fuck? Katsuki said. You think I just play fighting games? I also play cooking games. And I cook in role-playing games too. Kenshi said. Whoa, everyone said. I literally said that like a few pages ago, Kenshi said. Hey, how about we check out your dorm next? Kirishima said. I kinda wanna see what the life of Jojo is about, Kaminari added. Me too, Jiro said. I dunno, Kenshi said. Come on, Izuku said, Jojo. 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 Soon everyone started chanting Kenshi's nickname. Alright, Kenshi said. Everyone followed him to his dorm. He opened the door and revealed a gamer's paradise. Oh, Izuku said. My, Ochako said. Fuck, Katsuki and Kami said at the same time, jinx. Double jinx. Triple. Okay, we get it, Shiro said. Jiro noticed the shirt from the Scott Pilgrim movie. Dude, that's my favorite movie. She said. Kaminari touched the shirt. Touch. Jiro then smacked his hand as if he was a child. Don't touch. She told him, how did you even afford all of this? My mom's new husband is pretty rich and he brought some of it for me, Kenshi said, though I did get some of the money myself through my repair company. I saw the commercial and it was pretty good, but wasn't the accent a bit too much? Kirishima asked. Someone tapped on the window. They all looked outside to see a man with long gray hair. Too much. It's a perfect, he said as he jumped, wahoo. Okay, I'm gonna trust ya, Kenshi said. So Kirishima, what's your dorm like? Kirishima opened the door to his room. It was a den of manliness. It had a punching bag, some weights, and a treadmill. Hell yay, makes me wanna work out. Ochako said. She gets me, Kirishima said. Alright, now let's do the girls' dorms. Mina said, starting with mine. Mina happily showed them her room. It looked like a hippie paradise. So much pink, Ochako said. It's adorable, Toru said. Up next was Ochako. It was a pretty basic room, except for the giant portrait of her and Izuku. Where did you get the money for this? Mina asked. Don't ask, Ochako said. Next up, Jiro was showing everyone her dorm room. Momo noticed Kenshi seemed a bit off. Come on, if I brought all my music stuff in it would be a waste. Those last few words made Kenshi have some bad thoughts about his father and how abusive and neglectful he was towards him. Gaming is a waste of time, and so is hero work. No son of mine is going to follow such a pointless career path. Kenshi was shaking a bit. Momo noticed it. Kenshi, are you okay? He was hyperventilating quite a bit. Momo decided to take him to her dorm room where he could calm down. Kenshi, it's okay. It's okay, just take deep breaths and relax, she said, I'm right here. It's okay, shish. After a few minutes, Kenshi started to calm himself down. I'm sorry. I was having a flashback. He said. Of your father? Momo asked him. Kenshi nodded. Momo hugged him tightly. He's far away and he won't be able to hurt you, Momo said, but I get the feeling something else is bothering you. Kenshi knew he had to tell her. He looked at her. Momo, what I'm about to tell you does not leave this room, he told her. Kenshi took an old box. He then activated OFA and crushed it with little to no effort. Momo looked and was amazed by what he just did. Is this another gaming item? Momo asked. No, it's kinda hard to explain but I'll do my best, Kenshi told her, so you know how I was able to do the Hadouken and all those other hard to do fighting moves. Momo nodded. Well, ever since the USJ, I've been feeling strange, Kenshi said. During the fight against the Nomu, I noticed it more, but my quirk got some kind of upgrade, and in addition to that, I got a massive overhaul in my speed and my strength. It's like I inhaled 10 super mushrooms. Does that remind you of anyone? Isn't that how Yagi's quirk works? Momo asked. Yay. Deku's quirk is somehow part of my quirk now, Kenshi told her. So far, the only ones who know about it are him, Uraraka, and Kachan. All Might told us to keep it a secret, and based off what I told you, you can see why. But, I feel like I should make it my own instead of copying Deku. Momo pulled him into a kiss, then pulled a blanket over the two of them. I'm sure you will, sweetie, she said. She hummed the Jolly Roger Bay theme from Super Mario 64 to calm him down. After a few minutes Kenshi started to fall asleep, cuddling next to Momo. Chapter 17, Sports Festival Prep. It was a normal day of class for Class 1A. The bell rang for lunch. Before you all go, I have an announcement. Your fight is far from over. Wait, more villains? Kaminari asked. The sports festival is coming up, Aizawa stated. What's a sports festival? Kenshi asked. You've never seen a sports festival? Jiro asked. No, Kenshi answered. A sports festival is a competition that schools hold in order for people to see the future heroes that UA is training. You do well enough and you're sure to be scouted. Momo said with a smile. Or be a sidekick, Jiro said. This is a big event and you should be sure to train up for it, Aizawa said, which is why you have 2 weeks off of classes after today to get ready for it. After the lecture, everyone started getting ready to go to lunch. Can I have your attention for a moment? Kenshi said, getting everyone's attention. As your class president, I deemed it necessary to also help out with your quirks and costumes. He brought up his bag with a bunch of games for everyone. I'd like you all to try out these specific games, get ideas for support gear and costume changes. He handed out a game to Iida first. For Iida, F0GX. Read the instruction manual and get some ideas for your engines. He handed another game to Tokiyami. For Tokiyami, Arkham Knight. When you get to the upgrade part of the first act, study up. Kenshi then turned to Izuku. For you Deku, I notice you have a lot of melee attacks, but nothing that's ranged. Are you gonna give me a spell from Morrowind? Izuku asked excitedly. I got something better in mind, Kenshi said. He handed him Kirby Superstar. Play through the game as Fighter Kirby only. It should give you some ideas. And also, don't fight with just your arms. Otherwise you're gonna be visiting the old lady's office more times than you can count. Achoo. You alright, Chio? Nezu asked, putting his newspaper down. I feel like Jojo just called me an old lady again. Recovery Girl said as she got ready to him something with it. So what should I play or watch to get an idea? Izuku asked. Watch One Piece, and pay attention to the character, Sanji, Kenshi said, there's your starting point. Everyone was starting to head out. Minus one student. Kaminari was somehow still in the room. I'm trying to open the door but it's stuck. Push the button, Jiro said. I am pushing it, Kaminari said. It looks like you're pushing the keyhole, Iida said. The what? There's a button under the handle. Press that in, Iida said, while getting impatient with Kaminari's stupidity. He did as instructed. Okay. Now what? Kaminari asked, still clueless. Open the fucking door, Iida said, irritated. Kaminari opened the door, then heard a squeal. It came from Kenshi. It's him, Kenshi said. They were all looking at a man in a low-neck sweater, and a blazer, with futuristic-looking shades. This was Kon Iwata aka Shadow Eye. His quirk gave him a sonar sense. While he could see fine, he also could sense when someone is around, by hearing the environment. Rumor also had it that he was a psychic. Class 1B was walking behind him. So this is the riff-raff that survived the villain attack? He asked. Hey, you extras are in the way, Katsuki said. Mr. Iwata, I read all about your battles and stuff, Kenshi said, I'm your biggest fan. I don't care, Iwata said, turning away from Kenshi. Careful around this boy, Hayate said walking by, he's a dangerous one. And he stole the queen of my harem. Is that right? Iwata asked. Mr. Iwata then turned his attention to Momo and snatched her hand. Well then, from this day forth you will belong to Hayate, he said, now walk to lunch with him rather than this gamer boy. Everyone was shocked by what he just said, but none more than Jiro and Kenshi. Hey, what are you doing? Jiro asked. I'm making Yaoyorozu become Hayate's trophy wife, Iwata said, he's a far more superior future hero than any of you, and deserves a woman that will fuel that power. Listen bub, Yaomomo is already courted by Jojo who is bound to be her future husband, now let her go before I fuel your face with fire. You don't talk to a teacher like that flat chest, Hayate said. Hey, Kaminari said, take back that insult about my Kyoka. Mind your beeswax, lightning dolt, Hayate said while turning his attention to Momo, now my queen, how shall we spend lunch? Simple. With you as far away from me as possible and I train with my darling Kenshi, bastard. Momo told him while flipping him off and escaping Iwata's grasp, I'm Kenshi's fiancé. No you're not, you're Hayate's trophy wife, Iwata said. Hold it, Kenshi said, I don't know who you think you are. But Momo Yaoyorozu isn't some pet that you can boss around. She is a woman of free will and is entitled to make her own choice. He didn't get to finish as he was punched in the face by Hayate. Learn your place worm, Hayate said before turning his attention to Momo, now come my queen. We have much to discuss. Before he could take Momo's hand, she backed away, meanwhile Jiro and Hagakure stood by her side showing he wouldn't let him near her. Who are you to tell someone to know their place and tell them where they belong, Momo asked, before turning to Iwata, and as for you, Kenshi Jotaro just told you he was your biggest fan and you reject him. It's obvious that you're the type to play favorites. Listen here Yaoyorozu, either you ditch this low-class boy for Hayate, or I will do something to your family's company and make you. The door opened revealing Aizawa who had been disturbed of his nap. Excuse me, Aizawa said, I suggest you stop talking like that and let my students go to lunch. Who do you think you're talking to, hobo? Iwata asked. Aizawa stood there for a moment and stared at Iwata. Look, you don't know who I am, I'm just gonna tell you that. Now move and let my students go to lunch. I see nobody told you I'm taking over for Vlad while he recovers, Iwata said, let it also be known that I personally trained Hayate to be the best hero he plans to be. He's my protege. And what my protege wants, my protege gets. Got that? I see nobody told you that I'm Eraserhead, Aizawa said, the underground hero who doesn't give a rat's ass about fame and fortune. And what I want, I get, you got that. I come from the other side of heroes who kick a bad guy's ass and run from the scene of the crime. You don't know me. You don't know who the hell you're talking to. As the two were arguing, Momo took Kenshi by the arm and dragged him away, the rest of 1A following them. Are you okay Kenshi? Momo asked. I'm fine, Kenshi said, I guess it's true when they say never meet your heroes. Kenshi noticed that Momo was feeling down. Are you okay? He asked. I have to be honest, Momo said turning to him with a sad smile, I'm nervous about the sports festival. Why? You're smart, creative, and on top of that you have great leadership skills. That's why I gave you a vote for class president. She was surprised that Kenshi voted for her. Really? She asked. Of course, Kenshi said, you have just as much leadership skill as I do. Everything I do is just improvised, but you always have a plan ready. You inspire me to get better. Momo smiled at that compliment. Well, the reason I'm so nervous about the sports festival is because I'm not that skilled of a fighter, Momo admitted. But you saved my butt during the USJ, Kenshi said, reminding her of that daring rescue. It may have been an adrenaline rush but that was with my quirk. I wanna be able to fight without needing to use my quirk. Like, hand-to-hand combat. Well, we do have the rest of the weekend next week to train up for the sports festival, so I'd be happy to help. Momo smiled at her boyfriend, being so willing to help him. You're so sweet Kenshi, Momo said, this is why I'm lucky to have you as a boyfriend and future fiancé. Because unlike other boys who only see me for my body, you see me as a person. As someone who wants to better the world while bettering themselves. She hugged Kenshi's head to her breasts. Kenshi's face was getting red. Jiro was watching while snickering to herself. So are you gonna go Mr. Miyagi on me? Momo asked. No, I got something that will be a bit simpler, Kenshi said, we start tomorrow. Chapter 18, Sports Festival commence. Class 1A continued to do their training for the upcoming sports festival. Izuku was training with Black Whip and One for All while coming up with a new combat style. Kenshi and Momo were having sparring sessions together, and with his mother who happens to be a martial artist. Shoto was training with his eyes, refusing to use his left side. Everyone was getting prepared. Today was the day everyone was waiting for. The day of the sports festival. Class 1A was in the back getting ready. Kenshi was doing a few push-ups with Momo on his back. "I'm not too heavy, am I?" she asked. "Of course not," Kenshi said with a smile. 97, 98, 99, 100. "This is gonna be epic," Mina said. "I wish I could have worn my costume though. I think it's so people can see what we can do without out support gear," Ojiro explained. Kenshi continued doing push-ups with Momo on his back. A certain Kanade cane boy approached him and Kenshi. "Jotaro, Yagi," he began. "I told you to call me Jojo. Relatively speaking, you're stronger than all of us," Shoto continued, "but know this. I plan to beat the two of you in the sports festival." "A challenge. I accept," Kenshi said. "Let's go guys," Izuku said. The class walked outside to the stadium. "Here comes the class from the hero course who survived a villain attack, Class 1A. Present," Mike said, and Class 1B. Hayate led the class to the stadium. He looked at Kenshi and smirked at him. "I'm gonna wipe the floor with his ass," he said to himself. "Now, a word from out-class representative, Kenshi Jotaro," Midnight said. Kenshi seemed a bit nervous. Momo however took his hand and guided him to the podium and handed him the microphone. Hi, wow this is hard," Kenshi said. He looked at Momo who mouthed, "Just breathe." "Okay, so most of you are unaware, but I had a crummy childhood growing up," Kenshi said, "mainly because of my father, trying to groom me into being someone I wasn't meant to be. The one thing that got me through it all was my mother, and my quirk. My mother told me to chase after what I sought. And I seek to be a hero. Not just any hero, but a hero who can do big and small things." People were listening to Kenshi's speech. "I wanna inspire people to step out of their shell and follow their passion. One of my other passions is video games. Aside from being a hero, I wanna create my own game that everyone can connect to." I'm getting off topic here. The point I'm trying to make is, no matter what obstacles come your way, don't let them stop you. Those of you who have weak quirks, or are born quirkless, you shouldn't let that stop you either. Because quirk or no quirk, you too can be a hero. The crowd cheered for Kenshi's speech. Aizawa was shedding tears until he saw a bowl. "Hey, who left this bowl of onions here? Alright, with that out of the way, it's time for the first event. An obstacle course around the arena." Midnight said. "The top 42 will advance to the next round." Everyone got into positions. Kenshi put on a pair of shoes worn by a certain hedgehog. Sparks were dancing around his body as he did so. "Gotta go fast," he said. "Go." As soon as the flare was fired, Kenshi grabbed Momo's hand and the two of them dashed away from the other competitors. Other competitors started running and trying to catch up with Kenshi and Momo. "Whoa," Present Mike said, "looks like Jojo is leaving the others in the dust and he took Yaoyorozu with him." As the students started running, they got to their first obstacle course. An army of robots. "Momo, let's show these things who's boss," Kenshi said as he hit an item block releasing two items, a mushroom for him and a fire flower for her. Momo took the fire flower, and her clothes changed to a white and red palette, while Kenshi grew a bit in size. Kenshi did a jumping punch, knocking a robot out while Momo started throwing fireballs. "This is fun," Momo said. She then decided to try something. She unzipped her jacket revealing her training bra and stomach. Using a few lipids, she created a cannon and fired said cannon at a few more robots clearing a path. "Piece of cake," she said with a smile. She started running further. "No wonder you got an on recommendation," Kenshi said, "you're a natural with your quirk." Izuku was taking down a few robots using his new kicking style. He decided to up the ante with a super move. He jumped in the air and then dove down preparing a kick. Manchester. Smash. His foot landed emitting a shockwave blowing a few robots away. Katsuki and Shoto were watching this. "We need to catch up and soon," he said. "This new fighting style is really working. If my arms get tired I can just use my legs," Izuku thought. Flashback. Izuku was at the training field. He was in a mutter state thinking of some ideas for a new fighting style involving the use of his legs. As he was doing so, some fast footsteps were heard. "I am here, ambushing my son while he's in his mutter state. All Might Stad stopping by, hi." "Oh hey dad," Izuku said turning to All Might. "Are you ready for the upcoming sports festival?" "I should be once I create this new technique," Izuku said. "Jojo gave me the idea to not use my arms so much and now I'm using my legs." What about flying? All Might asked. You haven't forgotten about your birth quirk, have you? No, actually I haven't, Izuku said, and actually I've been able to fly by focusing the telekinetic power around my entire body. It's kinda how I developed full cowling with One for All. Didn't you read chapter 5? Moving on, any ideas for your kicking style yet, Mboy? All Might asked. As they were talking, a small piece of debris was falling. Izuku's eyes were glowing and he somehow sensed it. He then jumped in the air. Smash! He kicked the debris, crushing it into little tiny bite-sized pieces. Danger sense. All Might. What? Izuku asked. Izuku, did your eyes happen to glow? All Might asked. Yay. Why? Because that was my quirk, Hikage said, walking by. Danger sense. This quirk allows you to have a vision of the future and act on it. Like Sir Night-Eye, Izuku said. Well, kinda, only difference being is that Sir Night-Eye sees it coming. You feel it coming, said Hikage. Flashback over. With Hikage's quirk I could pull off this sports festival too. Other people were fighting robots. Kenshi noticed Hayate struggling with a few robots. He started to walk away. You're not gonna leave him to fend for himself, are you? Asked someone. Someone appeared on Kenshi's left side. It was an angel version of him. Shoulder angel, Kenshi asked. Don't listen to that guy, said another voice. It was a devil version of Kenshi. He's trying to lead you down the path of a righteous hero, Devil Kenshi stated, but I plan to lead you down the path that makes you number one. Oh, come off it, Angel Kenshi said. You come off it. You Infinity, Devil Kenshi said. Listen up, bud, I got 3 reasons why you should just walk away. Number 1, he's a bully. Number 2, he always makes you feel like you're beneath others. Number 3, he constantly tries to hit on your girlfriend. Well, I got a reason why you should save him, Angel Kenshi said, because he's a student, and a classmate, like it or not. Sure, he deserves this, but not like this. Kenshi was confused on what he should do. Well, I got a bonus reason, Devil Kenshi told him. Number 1. Look at that guy. How can he a hero with some sissy stringy music thing? We've been through this, Angel Kenshi stated. It's a harp, and you know it. Oh right, that's a harp. And that's a dress. Robe. Reason number 2. Look what I can do. He stood on his hands. But, what does that have to do with? Kenshi said. Actually, he has a point. Look, you two are confusing me, so be gone or whatever I say to get rid of you guys. That'll work, they both said as they vanished. Kenshi saw a robot knock out Hayate hard. It was about to finish him, however Kenshi acted quickly. Channeling OFA into his arm, he punched the robot hard, and then fought off the other robots. Hayate regained consciousness and noticed what Kenshi did. He was surprised by this. Jotaro, you saved my life. Yay, well, I won't tell anybody. Good, please don't, Hayate said. Okay, he said. He noticed the other racers were ahead of him. Hayate decided to give him a head start and threw him further. Kenshi started doing a few parkour skills to catch up. Momo noticed him. Where were you? She asked. I had some errands to run, he said. The two of them used their quirks to clear out the mines that were hidden around the final area. Meanwhile, Izuku was using Black Whip, creating ropes to catch up with the others, and Katsuki was using explosions to propel himself. A lot of competitors were neck to neck. The dust started to clear. The winner was Kenshi. Jotaro takes first place. Present, Mike said. The audience started cheering for him, amazed at what he was doing. A certain rabbit hero in the crowd was watching him with great interest. This guy's got spunk, she said. If he makes it far enough, I might offer him an internship. Chapter 19, The Tournament. After the first event, there was a second event, the cavalry battle. Teams of 4 would try and steal headbands and earn the most points. Kenshi got a headband worth 10 million points, having came in first place. Momo, Awase, and Todoroki teamed up with him to help him win. There was a climactic fight for headbands and everyone was using their quirks to show what they were made of. In the end, the teams of Kenshi, Izuku, Katsuki, and Kendo made it to the final round. There was gonna be a tournament where people have a fighting match to show how good they were in combat. There was a break to get prepared for the final round. Kenshi was eating with Momo and the others. Winry approached them with a smile. You must be Kenshi's other friends. She said with a smile, it's so nice to meet you. My name is Winry Jotaro, and I am an eternal 17-year-old. Mom, no, Kenshi said. She seems nice, Kaminari said. My mother, Winry, Kenshi said, part of the faculty in UA working in the office. Not gonna lie Jojo, Jiro said, your mom is kinda hot. Kenshi took his tray and walked away. Come on Mo, Kenshi said. What? Jiro asked, I just said your mom's kinda hot. Stop it. Kenshi noticed that he was up against Hayate in the first round. You got this Kenshi, Momo said. Thanks Mo, Kenshi said. Izuku noticed he was up against a kid named Hitoshi Shinso. Is he the one that Aizawa warned me about? He thought. Nana was watching from the stands that her grandson was against Shinso. This boy seems dangerous, Nana said. I heard rumors that his quirkaloshim to control people's minds by getting them to speak with awkward like did that could also sneak into Villainlairs or get people to monologue and distract them long enough. Nana was muttering and kanji symbols were flowing around. So that's where Izuku and I get it from, Inko said. Back on the stage Izuku was walking up with Shinso. In this corner, we have a boy with three quirks, and could possibly be rumored to be the late hero from 1,000 years ago, all for one's great-great-great-great-great-nephew, Izuku Yagi. Present Mike said, and in the other corner, we have a boy who could be considered to be Eraserhead's secret love Kaiao. We have Hitoshi Shinso ladies and gentlemen, Aizawa finished. Shinso looked at him. So you're the one who specializes in melee attacks, Shinso said with a smirk, I don't think you'll get really far with that. Izuku did some sign language and said, I know how your quirk works. I'm not falling for it. How? Shinso asked. Simple really, Izuku said, now let's fight. He got in a fighting stance. Shinso pulled out a binding cloth similar to Aizawa's. This ought to be good, Aizawa said. He threw out a piece of the binding cloth at Izuku who dodged to the left. Shinso then lunged at Izuku throwing a few fists at him which he caught. Using full cowling at 1%, he was dodging with ease. When he saw an opening, he powered up to 5% and threw a punch to Hitoshi, sending him flying. Yagi advances to the next round. Midnight said. Shinso looked down. And also, a surprise for you Hitoshi Shinso, Midnight continued, after a bit of thinking, the staff and I have come to an agreement. You will be moved into Class 1A's hero course to train your power and your combat. Really? Shinso asked. The crowd cheered. Izuku offered Shinso his hand which he accepted. Looks like you'll get a chance to show off what you can do. I guess I do, Shinso said with a smile. Midnight turned to Izuku and gave him a bear hug. Show them what you can do my little nephew. She prepped him with kisses all over. Aunt Nimori, I love you but please let go, he said. Never, Midnight said. She was suddenly judo flipped over. It was Ochako who picked Izuku up and dragged him back to the stands. My teddy bear. Wow, Mina said, and I thought Jiro was possessive over Kaminari. Jiro was walking to the bathroom and said, I heard that. Up next was Iida versus Hatsume. What Iida didn't know was that Hatsume was having him wear support items and gear to use him as a test subject during the match. Despite all of this, he advanced to the next round. There were a few fun matches where Class 1A and B were showing what their quirks were capable of. Remember what Kenshi said. Mishima style for strong attacks, but Kazama style for using your opponent's strength against them, Momo thought. In this corner we have the creation goddess, and heir to the Yaoyorozu enterprise, if she so decides, Momo Yaoyorozu. And in this corner, we have Batman Ao. Present Mike was once again smacked upside the head by Aizawa. We have Fumikage Tokiyami, Aizawa said. Momo looked at her opponent. She then looked to the stands to see Kenshi cheering her on. Tokiyami started by using Dark Shadow to attack. Momo stood there for a second. After a few seconds, she moved to the left. She then grabbed Dark Shadow and yanked her forward, pulling Tokiyami along with her, then punched Tokiyami in the face. Kenshi was watching with great interest. Whoa, Mina said, she just attacked Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow, Tokiyami said. Got it boss. Dark Shadow started using strong attacks. Momo dodged by pivoting left and right. She was waiting for the perfect opening. She saw one and went for a straight jab to Tokiyami's gut. She then grabbed Tokiyami by the legs and started spinning around. After enough momentum, she threw him out of bounds. The crowd cheered for Momo. Tokiyami is out of bounds. Midnight said, Yaoyorozu is the winner. Kenshi cheered like a madman for his girlfriend knowing she won. Next up was Katsuki versus Ochako. The fight was rough, and Ochako was giving it her all. Katsuki was acting rough, but that was because he respected her as a fighter. She had one final trick up her sleeve, but Katsuki saw it coming and blasted her out of the ring. After the match he went over to give her a hand. "Nice stuff, round face," Katsuki said, "no wonder Deku fell for you." She gladly took his hand and stood up. "Now that's what I call good sportsmanship," Midnight said. Kenshi was pacing back and forth waiting for his match to start. As he was doing so, he was approached by someone. It was Endeavor. "We meet again, boy," Endeavor said. Kenshi sighed and glared at him. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want you to make Shoto use his flames," Endeavor said. "Wait, what?" Kenshi asked. "He's denying his true path of a hero," Endeavor explained. "I knew there was something off about Todoroki," Kenshi thought. "So I need you to force him to use his flames so he can fulfill his destiny." "Don't you mean fulfill your destiny?" Kenshi asked. Endeavor started to glare. "Watch your tone, boy," Endeavor said. "Listen, I may not know about your family's history, but I do know this," Kenshi said, "no one is tied to an individual's future or passion. Todoroki is someone who wants to be a hero on his own accord. I do agree he shouldn't do things halfway and show his true strength, but what I don't agree on is your method of training him. Have you ever considered that you're the reason why he's half-assing it in THS first place?" Endeavor was listening to Kenshi's words. He may be young, but he's making a very valid point. This whole time you've been grooming him to be the hero that you want him to be, instead of making room and asking him what kind of hero that he wants to be, and don't think I don't know what you did to your wife, seeing her as a distraction. But that was just an excuse to try and get Shoto to focus on his training and so you could mold him into you, Kenshi said. "I'm pretty sure Shoto would rather fail as himself than succeed as a clone of you. He won't get anywhere with you forcing him to be someone he's not. Take some time and think about that." With that, he walked away. Endeavor stood there for a few minutes and thought about what that boy just told him. He then pulled out his phone. "Yes, hello, I'm calling about Rei Todoroki," Endeavor said. "I demand that you release her immediately." Chapter 20, More Matches. It was time for the final match of the first round. Kenshi was going up against Hayate. Before he walked to the stage, Momo stopped him. She then kissed his cheek. "For luck," she said. "Thanks, Momo," Kenshi said with a smile. He went up to the stadium where he was greeted with cheers. He faced Hayate, who had a ball and chain at his disposal. "On the right we have a boy who can create video game items," Kenshi Jotaro. Present, Mike said, "and on the left we have a boy who can absorb almost any material, Dio Hayate." Hayate smirked at Kenshi. "Last chance to surrender," Hayate said. Kenshi got into a fighting stance. "I don't run from a fight," he said. "Your funeral," Hayate said. He absorbed the concrete and his body transformed into that mineral. He started throwing a barrage of punches at Kenshi's way, and Kenshi pivoted left and right, evading each of the punches. He caught the final punch, then spun around and kicked Hayate in the back before moving backwards. He was using Hayate's strength against him, without using his quirk. A lot of heroes were watching both of them go to work and fight. Mirko was watching Kenshi with great interest. "He's got some good moves with those kicks," she said, "but if I work with him, he'll be a force to be reckoned with. With or without his quirk." Kenshi smirked at Hayate. "You're too predictable, Hayate. I don't even think I can call this a JoJo reference," Kenshi told him. "Hayate," shouted Iwata, "do not allow yourself to be humiliated by this simpleton." "Simpleton?" Kenshi asked. Hayate grabbed the ball and chain, then threw it at Kenshi. Kenshi narrowly dodged using his parkour skills. "That was close," he said. "Listen you," Hayate said, "I've had enough of you constantly taking my spotlight." "Taking your? That has nothing to do with why I'm being a hero," Kenshi said. "I'm being a hero to inspire people. I don't care about fame or fortune, if anything that's just a bonus, but that's not my primary reason." "But what about you? What do you want to be a hero for?" Hayate was struck by that question. I don't know," he said. "Hayate, you're supposed to be fighting," Iwata said. "You're supposed to show these people that they're beneath you." Hayate was getting a bit conflicted. "Hayate, do not listen to that man," Kenshi said. "He may be your instructor but he does not mean well." "Destroy him, you worthless Nimrod," Iwata shouted. Kenshi was getting mad at how Iwata was talking to his own protege. "Who is he to call you worthless?" Kenshi asked. "You may be stubborn but I can tell you worked your ass off to get to where you are." On your own accord no less. You made all this possible, and Iwata is just riding off of that to feed his ego. Hayate started to think for a minute. He may not like Kenshi, but he makes a very good point. You know, Jojo, you may have a point there, Hayate said, looking at Iwata. Don't focus on him, focus on me, Kenshi said. Why do you want to be a hero? What inspires you? To belong, Hayate said, but Iwata said I won't belong unless I get better than anyone else and beat them all. Forget what Iwata says. You do belong, Kenshi said. You're being a hero and fighting. People will accept you if you let them. You belong. Now can you say that for me? I belong, Hayate said. I can't hear you, Kenshi said. I belong. Hayate repeated himself. I can't hear you. I belong. You are an incredible teen with a quirk that other people would give anything to have, and who is now in a fighting match with someone who is trying to get you to higher ground, Kenshi said. So if you truly mean what you say, then for the final father fucking time, say it loud and say it proud. I belong, Hayate shouted to the heavens. Then let's fight, for real, Kenshi said. Kenshi hit an item block. Batsuit. He transformed into a cat. He was in a yellow cat suit. The entire crowd reacted with awe. Ah, he looks adorable, Sue said. He really does, Mina said. What the? I said Batsuit, Kenshi said to himself. Hayate started laughing and losing it. Ha ha ha, he got the cat suit. Hayate said, still laughing. Oh my. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He started gaining his composure back. Okay, now you die. Kenshi ducked just before the punch landed. He realized with the cat suit, he had cat-like reflexes. I'm a cat. Hayate threw more punches at Kenshi, who kept dodging. When he saw an opening, he clawed Hayate's face. Meow, he said. Motherfucker, that shit hurt. Hayate shouted. Come here, you little shit. He tried grabbing Kenshi, who dodged once again, pouncing back and forth, clawing Hayate. He then jumped up and did a ground pound, knocking Hayate out. Had enough? Kenshi asked. Not even close, Hayate said, clearly tired, and fell to the ground. I'll take that as a yes, Kenshi said. Hayate is unable to battle. Kenshi Jotaro ascends to the next round. Midnight shouted. The crowd went wild, cheering his name. Momo jumped from the stands and rushed over to Kenshi, giving him a bone-crushing hug. She then dipped him down and kissed him right on the lips. You were amazing, Momo said. Ah, thanks, Momo, Kenshi said. Momo then hugged him again as he was still in his cat suit and said, also, you're so adorable. Nana saw how Kenshi used the cat suit. That was intensive use. I kinda wonder how cats would actually use their quirks and combator, if it would actually be able to pull off stunts like a Hodorodidor, if that just special effects. Nana went into a mutter state. Everyone around her was in shock at how Nana was spitting out facts. Kenshi was in the back resting after his match. The others approached him. Wow Jojo, that was really cool how you talked to Hayate, Kirishima, making him realize he doesn't need anyone else's approval. That's so manly. I did it for me, Kenshi said, same for what I'm gonna do during my match with Todoroki. He's trapped within his own self-hatred and loathing, and I plan to break him out. Jojo, those dodges were awesome. You were moving around like a cat, Mina said, jumping up and down. Do you mind? Shinso asked. I'm trying to sleep. He went back to sleep in his sleeping bag. Quote. Is he Mr. Aizawa's secret love child? Kenshi asked. Kenshi, you were really cool up there, Momo said. He kept beating you senseless and you just kept getting back up. You just don't know when to quit. The door opened, revealing Monoma, who glared at Kenshi. Just for the record, Hayate allowed Jotaro to win. And why would he do that? Kenshi asked. You really wanna know? It's mind your own business, that's why. Monoma then threw something at Kenshi, who effortlessly grabbed it. Alright Phantom Thief, let's go, Kenshi said. Hey! Someone kicked Monoma in the back, making him stop. He turned around to see Hayate. That's enough, he said. Come on, I said. Enough, Hayate said, now let's go. Got it, Monoma said. Kenshi started walking back to the stands with the others. He then turned to face Hayate. If you want a rematch, just let me know, Kenshi said with a smile. I'll be waiting. As he kept walking, he noticed a foot on the wall. It belonged to none other than Rumi Usugiyama, aka Mirko. Gotta hand it to you, kid, you got spunk when it comes to combat, she said. Wait, I know you, you're Mirko, the number 5 hero. Your kicks are strong enough to destroy concrete. Kenshi said. And you know your smarts too, Mirko said. Listen, if you manage to make it to the final round, I got a spot for you in my internships. You've got good combat skills, but they could use a bit of refinement. Kenshi was blushing at Mirko got a bit close to him while smirking. I'll take up your offer, he said. Good, she said, I'm heading back to my spot now. But first. She then approached Kenshi and gave him a peck on the cheek. For luck. She then walked away leaving Kenshi with a red face. Chapter 21, Games vs. Explosives. The next few matches were more and more intense. Izuku had a leg match with Iida using his shoot-style technique, while Momo and Mina did combat using quirks. Shoto once again dominated using only his left side and won in a matter of seconds. It was time for the fourth match of the second round. Kenshi was going up against the explosive pomegranate himself, Katsuki Bakugo. I'm kinda nervous about this match, Su said. Bakugo is a bit of a hardcore brawler. I think Jojo has this, Izuku said. Yeah, plus, he probably has some new items to fight Bakugo. Ochako noted. On our left side, we have the explosive pomegranate, Katsuki Bakugo. And on our right, we have the hardcore gamer, Kenshi Jotaro. Aizawa muttered, beat his ass Jotaro. The match began. Katsuki lunged at Kenshi with an explosion in his right hand. Kenshi moved to the left and then did a flip to get out of the way. He then pulled out a mushroom. You're about to pick on someone your own size. He ate the mushroom, then started lunging at Katsuki. But something was wrong. Instead of growing huge, he was small. Hee, oops, Kenshi said. Guess he got the wrong mushroom, Monoma said. Izuku and Ochako facepalmed at this. See, this is why I hate mushrooms. Katsuki said. Wait, I can use this, Kenshi said. Hey, where'd the shrimp go? Jiro asked. He realized with the mini mushroom he was as quick as a bullet and can jump high. He then smirked. Wait, I can use this. Kenshi started moving around at fast speeds, kicking and punching Katsuki. What the? Katsuki said, hold still and let me crush you. Kenshi kept moving, evading every stomp and punch that came to him. Does that answer your question? Momo asked. No, because I still can't see him. Jiro said. Katsuki was starting to get pissed off. That's it. He launched an explosion hitting Kenshi, reverting him back to normal size. He got back up. Well shit, you got me, Kenshi said, but let's see you use your quirk on ice. Kenshi then pulled out an ice flower. He pressed his hands on the flower, and his clothes changed colors, and he had light blue streaks in his hair. Kenshi created a makeshift staff with ice and pointed at Katsuki. On guard. And exactly what are you planning to do with that? Katsuki asked. Kick your ass obviously, Kenshi said. Bring it Game Boy. He lunged at Kenshi once more with explosions. Kenshi started using his ice abilities to skate out of the way, effortlessly dodging his attacks. When he saw an opening, he covered his fist in ice and then punched Katsuki hard in the face, sending him flying nearly off the stage. However, Katsuki caught himself in time. The two continued to exchange blows left and right. Everyone was amazed at how Kenshi was using the ice flower. I taught him everything he knows, Winry said with a smirk. Katsuki wiped some sweat from his face. Well, that was a nice warm-up, but I think this is the part where we get serious, Katsuki said lunging at him, Jotaro. Kenshi smirked and stood there. He then moved and created an ice clone of himself. Katsuki lunged at the clone and threw an explosion, not knowing he had been duped. He ran right off the stage and was out of bounds. Katsuki Bakugo is out of bounds. Jotaro advances. Midnight said. Kenshi made his way back to the stands. Jiro approached him. Not bad shrimp. I'm not a shrimp, Kenshi snapped. You're shorter than a lot of us, especially Momo, Jiro said. We're literally the same size. Kenshi shouted again. Jojo. Even I know I'm short and I'm still taller than you. Jiro told him. I hate you, he said. I know, Jiro said, maybe you'll calm down when you and Momo have s. Kyoka. Momo shouted right next to her wearing a cheerleader outfit. How are we even having this conversation? Kenshi asked while turning to Momo, also, what's with the outfit? Momo lost a bet to me, so she had to wear that. Jiro said. I'm still not sure how we're having this conversation. Kenshi said. Oh, just blame the writers. said a man in a red suit while eating popcorn. Author, you know who I am. So quit trying to act like you don't, said Deadpool. Thank you. Chapter 22, Renouncing Your Past. The third match was about to begin. The first match being Izuku vs Momo. Oh, I hope Kenshi doesn't get pissed off at me for this, Izuku mumbled. Clash, Midnight said. Izuku then slammed his hands to the arena, making pieces of the ground float around him. You know, he usually focused on one for all. I forgot he even had a birth quirk. Katsuki whispered to Ochako. I think he forgot as well and only just remembering. Ochako whispered back. Izuku started pushing some of the rubble towards Momo. She deflected them with a makeshift staff she created. How long were you able to do that? Momo asked. A while. I just forgot that I was able to do that. I also forgot I could do this. Izuku then shot a compressed air cannon with his telekinesis towards Momo's feet. What the? Sorry Yaoyorozu. For Wa, Momo was then hit in the gut with another compressed air cannon that sent her flying off the arena and was about to be slammed towards the wall, but Izuku stopped her before she hit the wall. Yaoyorozu was knocked out of bounds. Midnight said, Midoriya advances. Izuku went over to Momo to make sure she was okay. You're not hurt, are you? He asked. Actually no, I'm fine, Momo said with a smile. Kenshi sighed in relief. He deeply cares for her. But the readers knew it was obvious. It was time for Kenshi's match in the semi-finals. He was going up against Todoroki, the half-cold, half-hot brawler. I'm gonna break you from this bondage, he thought. Shoto stared at Kenshi and had a glare on his face. He then saw his father in the audience and scoffed. I'll beat him without your power, Shoto said. Fight, Midnight said. Shoto started by throwing a sheet of ice Kenshi's way. Kenshi stood there for a few seconds, before throwing what looked like a yellow energy ball at the ice sheet, breaking it into millions of pieces. Whoa! Jotaro managed to break through Todoroki's opening move. Present Mike said. Shoto threw another sheet of ice at Kenshi, and he countered with the same move once more. He was using Eco from the Jack and Daxter series. Yellow Eco allowed him to throw projectiles. He noticed Shoto starting to shiver. Look at you, Kenshi said, you're shivering. This is because you're using your left side too much. You need to use fur. I don't need to do anything you say, Shoto said, these flames. They're nothing more than a reminder that I'm the spawn of that demon who calls himself a hero. Todoroki, those flames aren't his. Kenshi said, sooner or later you need to accept that. Shut you p. He launched another pillar of ice his way. Kenshi punched the barrier, breaking it with his own two bare hands. He noticed Todoroki was starting to shiver a bit, using too much of his left side. Todoroki, you have to use your left side. Kenshi said, you can't be a hero by half-assing it. I will never use that bastard's power, Shoto said, my goal is to show him that I can get along just fine without his power. Oh, and this qualifies as, just fine, to you? Kenshi asked, rejecting half of your power just because it reminds you of your father. What the hell are you thinking? Shoto continued throwing ice barrages at Kenshi, who effortlessly dodged them, or punched right through them. Furthermore, you've used your left side on occasion, Kenshi said, but you're not doing so right now. Mainly because your old man is watching, right? Endeavor was indeed watching. I spent a long time in my father's shadow myself, with him molding me into something I'm not, Kenshi said, walking towards him, but I realized a long time ago that I don't have to be tied down by what he's done to me, or to other people. That may be fine to you. But I have to show that old man that his power is nothing. Shoto snapped, and the only way I can do that is by beating you and Yagi with half my strength. Shoto continued throwing ice attacks at Kenshi, as he countered with attacks of his own. Everyone was watching with great interest. Momo was a bit worried for Kenshi. You can't just half-ass this. Kenshi said, whether in training or in real life, the only way to ensure victory is giving it your all. You still wanna be a hero, right? Those words started to ring in Shoto's head. He started having flashbacks of his past, training with his father. But there was one thing that helped him get through all of it. His mother. She would encourage him and tell him that he would be a great hero. You still want to be a hero, right? Shoto started to realize that Kenshi was right. His left side started catching on fire. Whoa, Present Mike said, Todoroki's finally let his left side let loose. Kenshi got into a fighting stance. Alright, finally some excitement, he said. He punched an item block and pulled out the keyblade. Shoto started throwing fireballs at Kenshi. He deflected them by spinning the keyblade around, then countered with a Blizzagra magic attack. A taste of your own medicine. Shoto melted the ice particles using fire, then lunged at Kenshi skating on ice. Kenshi jumped out of the way, then got a few hits in using the keyblade, using the move Sonic Blitz. Shoto continued using his quirk to try and attack Kenshi, while using the right side to cool himself down. I won't let myself be beaten so easily, Shoto said, helping out your opponent is a crazy stunt. Don't blame me for what happens next. He started charging up both sides to prepare for an attack. Cementos was concerned and covered up the area to protect the audience. Kenshi lunged at Shoto, channeling up energy using One for All. The two of them butted heads, causing a huge explosion. The dust was beginning to settle. Someone was still standing. It was. Jotaro advances to the final round. Present Mike said. Kenshi was standing up, with his fist in the air. He accomplished something great, but he was also in deep pain. Something was floating beside him. It was a pixelated head, with his face on it. He wasn't sure what that was, but thought it would be useful, so he pocketed it in his inventory. Shoto walked to the stands. Someone confronted him. Well, you've finally accepted your left side, Endeavor stated, now you can achieve your goal. Shoto walked away. I have nothing to say to you old man, Shoto said, refusing to look at him. Just because I used my fire doesn't mean I accept you. You could at least hear him out, said a familiar voice. He turned around to see Tuya Todoroki, his long-lost brother. At first I was angry at him because he gave all his attention to you, but then I realized I can't let my anger get the better of me, he said, so I went to someone to help me control my flames. Sure, I got a few scars, but those are a reminder of how I made it through. Shoto also saw his brother and sister standing by him. He spoke to us and he's willing to make amends as well, Fuyumi said. It's gonna take me a while but I'll at least hear him out, Natsuo said. Shoto approached his father, with a glare. You may have won Fuyumi and Natsuo over with your apology, but I'm still not convinced, he said. Endeavor looked at Shoto understanding. Unless, Shoto added. Fuyumi and Natsu were surprised by this. Unless, they both asked. You do one thing for me, and only then will you earn my forgiveness, Shoto continued, take my mother out of that asylum you put her in, after framing her for the scar you gave me. Done, Endeavor stated. Everyone was surprised by his sudden answer. I called the place I put her in and asked for her immediate release, and you will see her tomorrow, Endeavor continued, that boy. He made me realize the error of my ways. And now I'm planning to make up for what I've done in the past, starting with rebuilding my family. I hope to earn your trust again. Shoto turned around. It's going to take some time, but I'm willing to let you try, he said before walking back to join his classmates. Meanwhile, Kenshi was making his way to the prep room to get ready for his next match. As he was walking, a foot landed on a wall, belonging to a specific rabbit girl. Wah, I gotta say kid, you impressed me, Mirko said, you managed to beat that icy hot kid, and got him out of his shackles. Well, I had to, for him, Kenshi said, it's safe to say both me and him had shitty dads. Strong, determined, willing to help others, Mirko said, not to mention short, but cute. You're just my type. I'm sorry, what? Kenshi asked. Are you trying to flirt with me? Kenshi asked. I should let you know, I'm already in a relationship. Yay, with that creation girl I know, Mirko said, but that aside, I'm really considering giving you a spot in my internship. Don't be surprised if you get an offer from me. She walked away and winked at him. Kenshi turned to the readers and said, don't get any ideas. Chapter 23, the final round. The time had come for the final match of the tournament. It was Kenshi Jotaro, the pro gamer, vs Izuku Yagi, the son of the #1 hero. Everyone was getting hyped up for this final battle to see who would make it to the top. Kenshi started making his way to the stadium, but stopped to look at the readers. Just a friendly reminder before this chapter goes on, Kenshi said, this story is about Izuku. Not me. I'm not stealing the spotlight. Who do you think is gonna win? Mina asked. Deku, Kenshi, Momo and Ochako said in unison. Here we go, Katsuki and Kami said in unison. Funny. I could have sworn you said Jojo was gonna win, Ochako said. Yes, I did, Momo said. I'm sorry. Are we forgetting that Deku mopped the floor with your ass? Ochako asked. And are you forgetting that Kenshi managed to beat Bakugo and Todoroki? Momo asked. And are you forgetting that Deku spars with Bakugo, daily? I think. Ochako asked. Probably twice daily. But yeah, Katsuki answered. In this corner, we have the super strong fighter who can also emit whips from his fingertips, and use telekinetic powers, Izuku Yagi. Present Mike said, and in the other corner, we have the expert of video games, Kenshi Jotaro. Kenshi and Izuku looked at each other. I think it's time I showed you what I'm made of, Kenshi said, Lukong style. He pulled out a fire flower. Using one for all, he enhanced the fire flower, and changed his color palette, having red fire on one side, and blue on the other. Whoa, Present Mike said, what kind of students are you training? Izuku activated full cowling at 30%, prepared to give it his all. Clash. Izuku started by doing a flying kick at Kenshi who dodged by moving to the left. Kenshi then started throwing a few fireballs at Izuku to keep distance from him. Deku's all about melee attacks, but he doesn't know much about ranged moves. Though I should be careful about Black Whip or whatever it's called, he thought to himself. Izuku knew what Kenshi was doing. He reached out his hand and some whips emerged from it. He made an improvised move by turning those whips into a chain, similar to that of Simon Belmont. Okay, what? Kenshi asked. Have you played Castlevania before? Izuku asked. Kenshi nodded. Then you'd probably know what this feels like, Izuku said. He tried hitting Kenshi with the black chain. Kenshi evaded it by dodging left and right. When he saw an opening, he summoned a dragon out of fire and threw it at Izuku, following with a flying kick to the face, sending him flying near the edge of the stage. Nice shot, Izuku said, but now it's time to get serious. He grabbed Kenshi with the black chain and pulled him close. He then got ready for a new super move. St. Louis. Smash. He kicked Kenshi so hard, that the power-up wore off and he reverted back to his normal form. The two of them started clashing at each other with punches and kicks. This was turning into a Dragon Ball Z match. Everyone in the stands was cheering for Izuku and Kenshi. Do your best, Deku. Ochako shouted. Give it your all, Kenshi. Momo shouted. All Might was watching the two students give it their all, and couldn't be more proud of both of them. Kenshi looked at Izuku. All right, no more horsing around, he said. Feelings mutual. Kenshi then channeled OFA around him, then started to do a familiar pose that only a Street Fighter fan would recognize. Shinkyu Hadouken. He was about to fire a blue wave of energy at Izuku. He dashed forward using 50% of OFA, trying to stop Kenshi from firing it. The two attacks collided and smoke started to cover the arena. The smoke cleared out. From the smoke emerged Kenshi. He was shirtless and his right arm was bruised from how much of the quirk he used. Kenshi Jotaro wins the sports festival. Midnight said. Ochako stood at the stands, mouth agape, realizing she lost her bet with Momo. Ha, I knew Kenshi would win. Momo bragged. Better luck next time, Uraraka. And now for the bonus round. Midnight said, you get to fight against the champion of the sports festival, Mirio Tagata. Class 3A's very own Mirio Tagata arrived from the stage, using his quirk. Kenshi got a good look at him. Looks like I get to fight a new champion, Mirio said, congrats on winning shrimp. Don't be intimidated, Kenshi. Try to imagine him in his underwear. Kenshi imagined Tagata in his underwear, but he had bulging muscles. Oh no, he's hot. Tagata lunged at Kenshi preparing for a punch. Kenshi evaded by moving to the right. He then pulled out Kirby's headband from Kirby Superstar. This power-up enhanced his strength, and allowed him to throw hits so hard, they emit wind pressure. He then did a roundhouse kick emitting a blast of air. Tagata only stood there and it phased right through him. What the? Premiation, son. Mirio said, it allows me to phase through things and not get hit by anything. Gonna have to try harder than that. For some reason, I thought you were gonna quote something from Fallout. Kenshi said, you know, because you look like the Vault Boy. Tagata laughed at that statement. Finally, someone who doesn't think I look like Tintin. He said with a smile, I like your grit. He then threw a few punches left and right. Kenshi started evading them by dancing around the field. Mina was watching this and was intrigued by it. Does he play Dance Dance Revolution? Mina asked. Apparently. Jiro said. Mirio continued throwing punches at Kenshi and he kept dodging them. Kenshi then did a roundhouse kick which phased through Mirio. As he continued throwing counterattacks, he noticed something about his quirk. Wait a second, he thought. Mirio then phased inside the arena. Kenshi stood there and then sat down, beginning to meditate. Everyone was confused on what he was doing. Kenshi was starting to listen to the sound of his own heartbeat, and all voices started to fade. He started to hear something. Kenshi then jumped up, just before Mirio could hit him with an attack. He then did a spinning kick right to the chest, sending Mirio flying out of the ring. Everyone was silent for a moment, realizing that the champion had been beat. Then there was a roar of applause. I can't believe it. Kenshi Jotaro beat the champion of the sports festival. Present Mike said, we have a winner. Kenshi raised his hands up in victory. Later on there was an award ceremony for the winners of the sports festival. Izuku and Shoto got medals, while Kenshi got a trophy with a cash prize inside. Hayate handed the trophy to Kenshi, recognizing him as a true future hero and friend. Momo then went over to Kenshi, dipped him down and kissed him in front of the audience. Kenshi went over to Izuku and shook his hand. It's been an honor fighting you, Deku, Kenshi said. You too, Jojo, you got quite the handle on this power. The past users were watching and smiled at Izuku. Yoichi heard a voice in his head. It's time, younger brother, the voice said, it's time for us to reunite. After getting a few words of encouragement from his friends, Izuku made his way to his dorm and opened it. What he saw inside surprised him. Oh, hey Akka. Ochako was sitting on his bed, wearing one of his shirts that was too big on her, eating a thing of mochi. Hey Deku, Ochako said, I lost a bet with Momo and now I have to do this. But, I hope you don't mind. Izuku was looking her up and down, noticing that she wasn't wearing a bra, and her nipples were visible through her shirt. He was slowly walking towards him. Before he knew it, he was kissing her. Ochako pulled him deeper into the kiss and the two of them fell on the bed with her on top of him. Izuku looked at Ochako's breasts hanging and shaking slightly. Ochako gave him a nod of approval. He then squeezed one of her breasts, making her let out a squeak. He incorporated the movement onto her other breast, and started playing with both of them at the same time. He could feel the warmth, the softness, and the size on his hands. He undid the buttons on the shirt wanting a more direct touch. Ochako looked away slightly blushing. I'm kind of self-cautious about my body, she admitted. Don't worry Ochako, I won't judge, but between you and me, I think you look beautiful. Ochako smiled and kissed Izuku. I want you, she said as she started grinding on him. Izuku knew he was in for a night of fun and enjoyment. Back at Izuku's old apartment, a certain couple was engaging in similar activities with each other. Chapter 24, Snowballs and Date Nights. Izuku and Ochako were taking a walk in the city to spend time together after the sports festival. His eyes were glowing a bit. Hold up Ocha, Izuku said. What is it? She asked. They both heard footsteps. A little girl at the age of 5 was running. She then saw Izuku and grabbed onto his leg. Hello, Izuku said to the little girl. She held on tighter as if her life depended on it. Please, don't let go, she squeaked. Well, looks like you caught her in time, someone said emerging from the shadows. It was a guy in a bird mask. Thank you for finding my daughter. Your daughter? Ochako asked, why is she all bandaged up? A few accidents and all, and we were roughhousing and I may have taken it too far, the man said, would you be so kind as to hand her over? Izuku looked at the little girl and she could tell she was scared of him. He then glared at the man. No, he said. Perhaps I'm not being clear, he said. The man took off his glove. He was about to do something. But before anything could happen, he felt his back getting jabbed by what seemed to be a needle. Behind him was Tenko. Never let your guard down, he said with a smirk. Tenko, you sly man, Izuku told his cousin. Learned that one from Aizawa. Anyway, you should probably get that girl to safety. Those bandages aren't just from being playful. Tenko replied. Right, Izuku said before turning to the little girl, is it okay if I pick you up? She nodded. Izuku then picked her up as if he was a father holding his child. Alright, let's get you to Recovery Girl to see if we can't get you all fixed up. Izuku said. The two of them walked over to Recovery Girl's office. Yagi, did you break your arm again? She asked. No, but this little girl could use some help, Izuku answered. I see, have you been taking after your father again? I swear, you are very much your father's son. Going around saving people outside the law. Recovery girl said. Actually, my cousin Tenko kinda had the first blow, Sue. And him too. God. I swear. Minus will be vigilantes at this point. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Set the girl down and I'll see what's under all of those bandages. Recovery girl said. Izuku sat her down. Recovery girl then removed the bandages. Both Izuku and Recovery girl were shocked beyond belief to see what was under them. There were scars that came from needles and other things. It was as if that man caused them on purpose. Who would do such a thing? Ochako asked. Someone as heartless as the #1 villain if I had to guess. Recovery girl noted. Later on, there was a meeting to decide the girl's fate. People including Sir Night-Eye and Iwata were present. This is a pressing matter, Nezu said. According to Shadowmaster, that man was using her blood to create needles to take away quirks. What should we do with the girl? Midnight asked. As far as the little girl, I think we should send her back to that man, Iwata said. Absolutely not, Sir Night-Eye said. Sir Night-Eye. I say the girl should be placed in the care of Izuku Yagi, he continued, she is the only one he trusts. With all due respect Sir Night-Eye, I strongly disagree, Iwata said. He acted without a license and attacked someone. No, all he did was protect that young girl while a pro-hero fought off Chisaki. Aizawa said, also standing by Izuku. Are all of you out of your minds? The girl was stolen from her guardian. Iwata said. I wouldn't call someone who uses a child's flesh and blood a guardian. Night-Eye said. This boy isn't even fit to be in the hero course, Iwata said. Sir Night-Eye, why didn't you go with your original choice for All Might's successor? Because I knew that All Might made the right decision. Night-Eye said, there are times where I wish All Might would have gone with Tagata as the successor, but Izuku has shown time after time that he more than worthy of the mantle, as the symbol of hope. Is it because he's All Might's own flesh and blood? Asked Iwata furiously. No. If that was the case, I would have highly discouraged it. But Izuku has proven to be more than fit to be a hero. Night-Eye said. Honestly, Mirio Tagata would have been a better candidate to succeed All Might. Has he even mastered the quirk yet? Sir Night-Eye slammed his cane on the ground. That is enough, Iwata, Night-Eye said, either get with the program or leave the meeting. Iwata clicked his tongue and left the room. Moving on, Nezu said, Yagi, do you think you can handle being this girl's guardian? Well I've never tried to take care of a kid before, probably because I still am one, but I'll do my best, Izuku said. Later on, Izuku and Ochako went back to Recovery Girl. As soon as he opened the door, Eri rushed over and hugged his legs. I think she's grown quite attached to you, Recovery Girl said with a smile. Eri, I have something to tell you, Izuku said. I'm going to be your guardian from here on out. Really? Eri asked, why are you wasting your time on me? Because you're worth it, Eri, Izuku said. That's the job of a hero, to be there for others when they need it, and that means you. Eri then gave Izuku a hug. Ochako smiled at the little scene. After the meeting, Izuku and Ochako took Eri to Heights Alliance to show her her new room at home. Wow, it's so big, Eri said looking at the building. Haha, that's what I said when I moved to my new apartment, Ochako said. It's also the day I met Deku. Mina noticed the little girl by Izuku and Ochako's side. Are you two babysitting? No, I'm her guardian, Izuku answered. Others started to crowd up. Eri got scared and hid behind his leg. Seeing this, Izuku activated full cowling at 60% to calm everyone down. Sorry, I had to do that, she's been through a lot of trauma, Izuku said. Sorry, Mina said. Eri slowly started to come out. Mina slowly approached her. Don't worry, sweetie, we won't hurt you, Mina said. We're Mr. Deku's friends. Eri looked at Mina curiously. You smell like apples. My name is Mina, Mina said, introducing herself. I'm Eri, Eri said. Mina noticed the horn sticking out of Eri's forehead. Is that a horn? She asked. Eri put her hand on her horn as she nodded. Eri, that's adorable. Look, Mina said, pointing to the two horns on her head. I got two horns. Ooh, Eri said. Izuku picked Eri up and took her to her new room. It had a bed, a dresser, and some nice clothes. Okay, Eri, what do you think? Izuku asked her. It's cozy, Eri said. Izuku and Ochako spent the next hour helping Eri get situated in her new home. The door to Izuku's room revealing Izuku's mom, and Ochako's parents. Thanks for coming on such short notice, Izuku said. What's this about? Maruki asked. Well, I just became the guardian of this little girl, and now we're going on our date and we'd like you to watch over her. Inko looked at the little girl and smiled. Hi Eri, my name is Inko. Hi, Eri shyly said. It's okay Eri, they won't hurt you sweetie, Ochako said as she patted her head. We'd be glad to watch over this adorable little girl. Sato asked. Eri looked at her with curiosity. She looks just like Ms. Ochako, Eri said. Well, she did get her good looks from me, Sato told her. Later on, Izuku and Ochako were taking a nice walk in the park. They sat on a bench enjoying ice cream cones of mint and strawberry. It's really nice to have some time to ourselves after the sports festival, Ochako said with a smile. She heard some soft sobs. The two of them turned to see Toga crying on a bench. Toga? Ochako asked. The two of them went over to see what was wrong. Toga, what are you doing here, and why are you crying? Ochako asked. Toga looked up to see Izuku and Ochako looking at her. Oh, hi Ochako. I'm crying because some kids were being mean to me and making fun of my quirk, Toga told her, and my obsession with blood. What? That's ridiculous, your quirk is amazing. Izuku said. That's right Ochako said, it's useful for special ops missions and everything. Really? Toga asked as she wiped her tears, but my quirk is considered a villain's quirk. It's no wonder people are afraid of me and say I can't accomplish anything. That's right, Izuku said, besides you're already a second year and you've shown people what you're capable of. Izuku stood up and pointed to Toga with a smile. Himiko Toga, you too can be a hero, no matter what quirk you have. There's no such thing as an evil quirk. It depends on how you use it. Ochako smiled at Izuku being the inspiring kind of person he is. Toga got up and smiled at the two of them. I love you, she said. Izuku and Ochako were confused by what she said. Wait, you mean you love me, or Ochako? I think she means both of us Deku, Ochako said. Toga then hugged both of them then pecked them both on the cheek. What just happened? Izuku asked. She just confessed to us and pecked our cheeks, Ochako said. I guess this means you wanna share Deku with me. And share you with Deku, Toga said, because you remind me of two classmates I had who encouraged me to keep using my quirk for good, no matter what others said. Well, I'm okay with trying it out, Ochako said with a smile. Sure, we can, Izuku said. Himiko smiled and gave a hug to Izuku, kissing him dead on the lips, and then doing the same to Ochako. I'm starting to think this is a dream, Izuku thought. He then tried to pinch himself to see if he could wake himself up, but he was still here. It wasn't a dream. Later on the three of them went back to Heights Alliance. Mina noticed Toga by Izuku's side. Yagi, are you cheating on Ochako? Mina asked. Nope, I'm dating both of them, Toga said with a smile. It's nice to meet all of you. I'm Toga. Suyu Asui, but my friends call me Sue, Sue said. Why hello there, Sato said with a smile. I take it you're Ochako's mom? Toga asked. Why yes I am, Sato said with smile. What kind of quirk do you have? Is it a powerful one? I wouldn't say powerful, Toga said as she morphed into Sato, but it's pretty interesting. Hey, where's Eri? Izuku asked. Someone tugged on Izuku's shirt. He turned around and saw what looked like a younger Inko who looked to be 6. Mom, you shrunk, Izuku asked. Boo, Inko said, scaring the crap out of Izuku. What, Mom? Then, the younger Inko took off the wig, revealing herself to be none other than Eri. Ms. Momo made me this wig that looked like Ms. Inko's, Eri said, and then we came up with this plan to prank you. Izuku noticed Kenshi filming the whole scenario. Get rid of that, Izuku said, menacingly. Oh no, this is going straight to YouTube, Kenshi said. Kenshi sweetie, Momo said sweetly, delete the video or no cuddles tonight. You wouldn't deny me cuddles, would you, Mo? Kenshi asked. I can always create a pillow of you instead, Momo said. Kenshi then deleted the video. Anyway, did you have fun today, Eri? Izuku asked. I sure did, Daddy, Eri said. Everyone AAAAWWED. Grandbabies, Inko and Sato said while hugging each other. Wait, Daddy, Izuku asked. Well, you took care of me, and brought me a new house and new clothes, and because, you're my daddy, Eri said. Ah, Mina said, well if he's daddy, then who would be mommy? Eri looked at the two girls who were with Izuku then smiled. "They're both my mommies," she said. "Wow, looks like Eri is the strongest person in the world," Katsuki said. "Nope, that would be Daddy, Uncle Kachan," Eri said. Katsuki grabbed his heart and fainted.